What's up, everyone? What's up, guys? Ryan Lee here, aka AC Poker 0271. Today, I'm going to be going over a tournament that I played from 2017. Um, it was the NJ Scoop main event from 2017. So, Doug Polk and Ryan Fees had reviewed my hand history, so I joined Upswing Poker, the group that they created. They selected a few people to review the tournaments of, and so I watched the video, and then I kind of wanted to just give my analysis of the tournament along with their analysis. They had a lot of good stuff, so I appreciated the feedback and analysis from them. So I kind of wanted to just go over some of the hands here. It was a 2-day tournament. So why don't we just, get right into it here. I'm going to pull this up now. And let's get started.
All right, guys, welcome back for part three. This is going to be our final tournament that we are reviewing. This one's actually a little bit higher stakes than some of the stuff we've been looking before. Is a $500 tournament over on PokerStars New Jersey. It's a $500 buy-in with 36K up top. So I'm expecting to see a little bit of stronger play. I know it's New Jersey versus instead of the World Pool, but it is a $500 tournament compared to a $22 one. So I think we're going to see some better players in here and maybe some more interesting kind of like higher level spots. So let's just go ahead and jump right into it. Once again, we're going to be looking at only hands where VPIP equals true. I think it's a pretty standard call here on the button. Don't mind mixing in a 3-bet every now and then, but I do like the flat. Okay, so I think call here, Fees. What are you feeling?
Uh, yeah, I think call, and I think you actually might end up potentially turning it into a bluff on some runouts. But yeah, I think kicking it off with a call is good.
I like that we have top pair, and you're immediately thinking about possible bluff runouts.
It's
I feel like today you're ready to go.
under the gun +1, under the gun +2. Yeah, you gotta take them off it, and
Okay,
a
let's
lot of
see what we
turns will be
got.
good for you.
Seems good. Ooh, this is getting kind of dicey. What do you think here?
I definitely don't think this is a hand to call here. I think a hand like 8-7 could be a lot better. 10-9, diamond hands, maybe a stronger queen. I think this one I let go, or potentially consider raising, but probably mostly just fold.
Wow, raising's interesting. Well, so what hands are we representing with a raise? Like 7-5, maybe a trapped flop hand. But how often are we really going to be trapping on the flop multi-way?
Yeah, probably not that often. It'd have to be in conjunction with really just three of a kind that you did trap the flop with for whatever reason, which seems improbable, which is why I would lean towards folding.
Wow. All right. Good stuff here from AC Poker. Oh, nice. We can see showdowns. Well played. All right. I like it.
So, that hand, I mean, looks like I had the worst hand of it. Three-way. Early raise by Bendover, and then a call from Gay for Trey. Um, calling the flop top pair. I mean, you have top pair, you're not going anywhere in the flop. But the turn, he barreled again, first to act and then a call. So I don't think I just thought I just didn't think I was good at all. Like, I thought I was, way behind, bend over, an early position raise. I mean, aces, kings, ace, queen all beat us. And I mean, I think I was at least, if anything, I may have been ahead of, maybe one of them that maybe Gay for Trey could have had like a flush draw, like king jack of diamonds, something like that. But I definitely didn't think I was ahead of either of them, and actually had the worst of it because he flopped a set, and then bend over at ace queen. So yeah, pretty standard, good fold by us.
Oh, nice. We can see showdowns. Well played. All right. I like it. 3x. I think I'm letting this one go.
Yeah, no ante, just not strong enough.
The no ante is serious business, and this is something that I've seen from a lot of my students along the way. Players, if you ask them like, "Do you adjust to no ante?" They'll say yes, but they never adjust enough. There's always like a little bit of like it just feels like we got some chips, but like in this spot, it's actually I would say a bad thing the small blind's calling. I think that reduces your equity here, just by more than the incentive. The new odds make it better for you. I think you just gotta let this guy go. I think once in a blue moon I might take a stab, but I'm like 90 something percent checking this and giving up. Looks good.
Yeah, can't argue.
The other thing is too is I guess what Doug and Ryan don't know is, or I think they may have mentioned it, is that I do know a lot of these players. Tully, who I know, who I played with against a lot. May open the button very wide. King 5 is not really ideal in the big blind, although we're getting pretty good pot odds. Although King 5 is not good, especially when the small blind calls, because they can be pretty strong. Tully could be opening very wide on the button. I could have tried to steal it on the turn. I'm also playing with a HUD on this tournament, so I can see the percentage that people are opening on the button. How loose they are, how often they c bet, that sort of thing. So we'll get into the next hand here.
Go with post flop.
Min raise, but no ante. I think every now and then I might come in for a 3-bet. Maybe once in a while flat, but I'm gonna primarily fold this in the button.
Yeah, me too. I think we'll see what happens here. But yeah, if he's a recreational player, I definitely don't mind it, because God only knows how many chips he'll be able to give you post flop. But other than that, yeah, mostly just fold.
Also, with an ante, I'm much more likely to want to play, but we're not facing that. Okay, check. This is actually a hand that I do like betting the flop with a good chunk at the time. We block some potential check calls with the diamond and the heart, both cards that our opponent might want to check call with. Additionally, we have lots of rounds where we can pick up some equity. We have the 2 overs. We've got backdoor gutters. We've got the backdoor flush draw. I think this is a nice hand to bet with. I don't think you bet it all the time, but I would primarily go for like about a half pot bet here. I'm liking ace.
Yep. Jack queen on the button. I'm in position. I could 3-bet the hand. Sometimes it's not, strong enough to sometimes flat. Sometimes you want to 3-bet hands like this that aren't as strong. Sometimes to mix in some 3-bets in position as well. But this is a good flop, especially when he checks, because like I said, I do have some backdoor straight and flush draws. If he has ace king, he might float one on the turn, but I can barrel and bet some turn cards, a 9, a 10, jack queen, 9 of hearts, any kind of heart, so good stuff.
I'm liking AC Poker. I feel like AC Poker's got like I think we're gonna see some good play. I'm looking forward to this one.
Well, thanks, Doug. Although I hate to disappoint you later.
So I think this is just an unfortunate spot where you're going to be just giving it up. If you wanted to bluff with some pairs, deuces.
We're going to skip this hand. It was checked down. Just a bad hand with eights.
Okay. Ante's now in effect. This is looking like, I'd say mainly a 3-bet. Don't mind mixing in some flats.
Take it down.
Taking it down.
3-bet the jacks.
I wouldn't mind a little bit bigger here, on these stack sizes. And I think I'm leaning a little more just 800, but not the end of the world either way. These spots are some of my least favorite spots in poker. Just some of my least favorite. I honestly think you're probably supposed to just fold.
Yeah, I would. I think that's like pretty reasonable, but again, I think given the player, these are good players. I think it's hard to really make the get the value back. But again, with recreational players, they might just overvalue a pair, even 2 pair in a spot, and a set's going to be worth the 75 it takes to call.
So definitely a check call here.
Yep.
Man, turn bet would be pretty interesting. What would you
Leading
do versus turn bet? Would you check all this, or would you throw her away
on the flop.
on the turn if we face
Oh.
a turn bet?
Depends on the sizing, but I mean, like your heart doesn't look like amazing, but the straight cards do, and it's got to rank like presumably higher than a hand like, I don't know, ace jack with the jack of hearts or something. So
What do you think about river bet here?
yeah, I mean, seems other than ace queen off,
What's your mainly three betting pre?
yeah. Other than that, it seems like you sort of have
And
the bottom.
and maybe check raising the flop a chunk as well. I don't think we have that many ace queens. I think this is a spot where it feels like we have a chunk of ace queens, but we really don't.
Right. And he might have, like, his two cards might sort of remove that. Definitely don't think we're check raising all of our sets or flushes here. We could even have king jack, even have king queen. I think a smaller bet works good, 5 to 700, and I think that a bigger bet, 2 to 3,000, also fine strategy here.
Pans out. I like mainly calling here. This seems like a pretty clear fold.
Why do you say that?
We have a player behind. If either player has this beat, we're just dead. And then we also block a lot of the hands that might want to consider bluffing, like Jack 9 suited, 9 8 suited, maybe an Ace 9 suited backdoor flush draw. So I just don't think that we have a good enough situation here to warrant teaming.
Yeah, I would agree. And it's funny. I actually almost think it's almost like by calling. I'm worried about the player behind it. It's almost like by calling. I think then maybe some 10x hands might fold, and that it's almost like it sort of works in your favor in that way.
You think the player behind might fold 10x?
Yeah.
Ooh. I don't know. Maybe.
I mean, think about it. Under the gun raise, bet half pot on queen queen 10, and then a call. I think it's like, I would guess he's going to.
Yeah, it's somewhat reasonable.
Yeah, because he could be, especially.
That's a flop. I think heads up. I'm just it was a lot better. Obviously, I'm the guy behind him. Makes it a little bit harder to play with a guy behind. I think I was just calling 1 on that flop because he could have some ace kings, ace jacks, that sort of thing. And then the guy behind us could have some under pairs or king jacks and draws. And then maybe if we spike a 9 and he has king jack, we boat up and they have a straight. But yeah, could have folded the flop there. But
Especially with his weaker tens, which could be dead, but we block them. Especially because it's like complete dead to a queen.
Okay, we have a 3x. I think versus that, so we're going to always play this. Probably mixing in 3-bet and call it pretty similar frequencies. I like both lines here. And easy flop fold. All right. This is a spot when we face a mid-position flat. I'm just check folding.
Yeah.
So they have tons of strong hands here. We even block a bunch of the kinds of hands we want them to have. I just don't see.
Like a very small percentage bet, but yeah, like 90 to 95% of the time, you gotta check.
In fact, like I would check a ton of hands in this flop in these positions. I think on the turn though, I think I would bet here a decent portion of the time. We know he's not going to have the nut flush draw, so I like our removal from that aspect. We also can certainly have some ace queen, ace jack, and some trapped flop hands. He's not going to have a set; those hands are betting the flop. So we're not going to get raised here very often at all. We have some reasonable removal, and even when he does call, we got some at least okay equity. So all those factors kind of lead me towards a turn bet.
Yeah, we're still losing to 6s and 5s and chopping with ace queen, and could lose to ace 10 or king queen that check the flop.
I am very unhappy with this turn check call.
Yeah, me too.
not me.
I think you're hoping he has like king queen, ace 10.
King 10, queen 10, kind of block.
We even block some of the hands that we kind of want to be bluffing with. I just doesn't seem.
6s seems like a great call. Wow.
All right, well, WL Forever is getting a note on him here on the turn. That's for sure. But that
yeah,
doesn't
he had a
make
note.
me.
Yeah, well, the turn's like a good bluff. Like,
Oh no, I don't. I don't. I mean, I will probably just bet the flop with the 4-3. But if I did check, I like betting the turn. So I
Yeah.
don't hate this. Uh, you know, you pair the 3 on the river, it almost feels to get the fire again. But maybe he's got enough weaker hands that he just chooses to show down. You can't really anticipate too many ace highs in your opponent's range though. So
Yeah, WL Forever was just playing very loose. I think I had some notes on that guy. He was just like playing any two cards. I normally am not just check calling that turn. Um, if anything, I'm probably just gonna bet it. I think. I mean, because really, what are you check calling with? Like, to thinking you're the best hand, which we actually did against this guy. I mean, he could have anything. But normally I could, normally I'd probably bet the turn. And then bet if like maybe another club comes because we do have the ace of clubs. We can rep the flush, or barrel like any other, maybe king, obviously ace or queen were probably good as well. But we ended up actually having the best hand till the river. But I normally have never just check calling that turn like that. But I think against him, I think um, he was playing anything, and I may have had the best hand, which I did. But normally I'm not taking that line at all.
um,
Yeah. And preflop obviously is too loose.
yes, that goes without saying. If he is the mid position flat with 4-3 suited, not in the upswing approved ranges. This is an easy check fold. Nothing to see here. This is a fold. This is a pretty clear fold.
Yeah.
You think the player behind might fold 10x
Oops.
and easy flop fold? Check. Um, I don't. I like
Let's go
so.
back to
Up,
this
nothing
hand.
fold.
Fair fold.
Now, if you're gonna play, I don't mind the 3-bet, but you can fold, and so I don't like the 3-bet.
Yeah.
Like a
That's
boss.
weird. Let's see. I mean, maybe I don't know. Maybe he had to read it somehow. We'll see if he makes any more plays like that work out.
I probably
It's
just
kind
had
of
to
interesting.
read.
What do you think here, Fizz?
Um, I think I mixed with a fair amount of betting, and with this particular hand, I think I actually lean towards checking, but don't mind that sometimes. Mostly check.
All right, check all, turn 8, check, check. Seems pretty solid. Check,
Check it
check.
down.
Pretty good run out to bluff, but our hand's just way too strong to bluff. Okay, WL forever. So we're back in the, ooh,
Okay.
nice. Pretty nice. All right, I think here, I think if you're in a heads up pot, definitely like a check. I think as you go multi-way, I start to not mind a bet a little more often. So I think you could sell me on this either way. If I had to pick, I'd probably lean towards check. But the more players that are in the pot, the better is just to bet and hope some shenanigans go down.
I think you gotta bet this every time. I think you can check your 8, um, but I think the Jack specifically is the hand you have to bet, especially because it's going to be hard to convince. Like if you bet the flop and then start calling or raising or whatever, I think that it's more probable that people think you're trying to fight to defend your c bet. Whereas if like you're check calling flop and then turn, you're doing this like delay check raise thing. Like I don't think, or I think it's like unlikely that people are willing to play as aggressively sort of versus you. So I
Okay.
think just bet. And the other thing is that it could go check through, and then what would be really a disaster is that either the blinds, especially the big blind player, who could have an 8, who you would get the opportunity to put in 1 or 2 bets on the flop versus he or she would not get that opportunity, and then it's the turn could change the dynamic, straight card, flush card, dramatically reduce the how effective or how powerful an 8 is, and that would just be way worse for your hand. So I would
Okay.
lean towards mostly betting.
In a heads up pot, how often are you checking here? Let's just say it's just us and WL forever.
Well, how often am I sort of like checking the board in general? This is a pretty tough board for the adaptation player, given mostly ace high. I mean, honestly, ace high, and then the number of the broadways: king, queen, king 10, queen 10. So this is like a tougher board that and I expect him to have couple eights, some pairs, some straight draws, and a lot of jack X. Somewhat hard to see bet against. So I will be oftentimes checking this board, maybe see betting 30%. And then again, I'll bet jacks more than an eight, but I'll be mixing and probably mostly checking.
Okay. So we check face a bet. We go for the check call. Any merit to check raise here, Fees, or you like the check call?
I mean, if you ask the solver, the answer would probably be yes. I think balancing that in practice is a little bit difficult. I would, for the sake of my humanity, just call.
I think from what I've seen in my limited amount of looking at what solvers would do in spots like this, they also like checking some of like the low to mid pairs, like the pocket sixes type hands, because when you do improve, it's to essentially the nuts, and those hands really gain a lot from check raising and blowing them off equity. But yeah. Okay, good stuff. What do you think about springing the trap now? I'm starting to feel like springing the trap, Fees, because if he had a flush draw, now he has a flush. He's going to have a hard time folding that. If he has an 8, he's going to call at least the turn.
Good card to
If
raise.
he has 10-9, he should probably bet fold, but people tend to get a little sticky when they turn the straight. So really, unless this guy just has a complete air ball that bet 4-way on the flop, which is possible given the fact this guy showed down the 4-3, all of these factors lead me towards going for the check raise here and looking to try and stack him.
Yeah, it's a reasonable play, especially at this point. We could have, I suppose, 10-9 of clubs, maybe 8-7 and jacks. It's just about are we going to balance that range? And so long as, and I'm saying in this this spot we can, in other spots maybe it's a little trickier. So I guess then, Doug, the more interesting question is, what hands do we bluff with to take this line?
Well, I think we're gonna have to take some of our worst jacks that don't block some of the hands we want them to have, right? So, maybe a king jack type hand. I don't really like taking a queen jack or a jack 10 or a jack 9, because we want him to have straights or queen 10 or queen 9. Those are the kinds of hands that we're hoping he does have. I think particularly having a 10 or a 9 is poor here. I think if you had a hand like king jack of diamonds, I don't think we want to check call anyway. So I think that's sort of a very natural low frequency bluff when we do have the jack.
Yeah, if that's the case, then yeah, our range is balanced, and why would we not? Good luck to us.
Yeah, this doesn't change anything.
Get it all. Oof.
Very nice.
New clubs. Nice hand.
All right. Good to get the double up
Fortunate
early.
hand for us.
Button open, cut off call. Looking at a squeeze here to something in the vicinity of 13 or 1400. Maybe 1500. Way too small.
Yep.
Wow. Well, we're about to go 4-way. Yeah, this is just way too small. I'm seeing we should go smaller in position, but particularly when there's an ante and it's multi-way and we already have a raise and a call, you got to factor this in. Like, to be honest with you, Fees, I would probably still go like 1,050-ish if it was just heads up. But when you add in this call, you just got to make this big enough to where you might get some folds.
And by the way, the reason being is you're just simply giving it, like, we talked about this in one of the beginning portions of the lab, where essentially like what's happening here is you're taking a bunch of hands that would be in a tough spot and making their decision really easy, really obvious. Yeah. And that's you want to do the opposite of that. You want to make it really murky, where all these hands in the middle, what should they call, should they fold? When you're doing that to your opponents, that's when you're really getting the best of them.
Totally agree. Okay, so checks to us on the flop. I think I lean a little bit more toward. This is close, actually. I could see mixing it up here and doing a little bit of both. So, like, on one hand, betting is nice because we have decent equity, and getting our opponent off of like mid to low pairs, that's a huge win for us. And our hand's gonna play pretty well if they check call in later streets. The downside is if we get check raised, we're probably gonna have to fold. Feels real bad to fold with the king of hearts here. So whenever I'm in a spot like that, I tend to lean towards kind of mixing. Like if I see some real upside to betting, but I also can see some problems if we face raise. I'm kind of mixing up between both options. What are you feeling here, Fees?
So I feel very comfortable folding because the spot is so sort of like it's so like almost like convoluted and weird given the dynamics of all the different players, monotone board. You're betting into all of these players. You could certainly have the nut flush or a set or aces with a heart or something, and then they're sort of looking for these sensible hands to bluff with, and I don't know if they're looking at a hand like jacks with a heart, and then considering bluffing. Um, and the other thing I think is kind of interesting about multi-way pots is that it is hard to get the bets through, but a small bet here is like, let's just say half pot, for instance. It is actually kind of tough. So like the small blind, so you bet half pot, right? The small blind player now really has to worry not only about the fact that you're betting into three people, but he has two players behind. So it's he has to play honestly, and a lot of his range is just going to miss. And a big part of this is that you're betting not too big. Then it goes sort of to the under the gun player, and he's sort of in like a bit of the same spot, where you bet into all these players and still then has to worry about the cutoff. So they end up having to play pretty honestly, and then you get to sort of what's likely to be the weakest player's range, who is the cutoff. He's in the heads up spot, and can play his range a little bit I guess more normally. He's not so constricted. But then versus him, like you said, you have great removal, great equity, and at sort of the head in a number of the heads up situations that you arrive at there, they'll be really good for you. So I think I lean towards betting a few more of these spots, because I think that it's hard for there to be. It really puts in a position where not all that much funny business can be happening to you. And I think from my perspective, it's easier to see, I guess, how to balance or how to play the spot. Whereas when I check, and then I'm trying to balance with maybe some other strong hands, I would check and make certain call downs or bluffs, it becomes a little bit more difficult. So perhaps for the sake of ease, I would bet a little bit more often. But like you said, yeah, I use my RNG when I play. Maybe it should be 50-50. Maybe I go for a 75% bet.
All right, so AC Poker does decide to check this. Checks back to us, and now I think we need to bet. Now we don't mind
Yes,
if we get
sir.
check raised at all. We have good equity. No one has really shown much interest. I think the 6 is a good card for us. I think in theory we could have some overpairs. We could have some 6x. We could have maybe an ace queen of clubs that didn't want to bet the flop. I just think that there's just too much merit here to be betting to be checking the turn.
Yeah, 100% agree. This is now we have to bet if we've gotten here, and he does. Nice. Face a call.
I think you gotta jam here sometimes, Fees.
Yeah, I mean, I think that this player having jacks or tens, given that his sort of flat with a heart is very reasonable. Could have nines, could have ace queen, but we block a number of those hands. And yeah,
How often are you looking to jam here on the turn, or on the river? Sorry.
um, with this specific hand, I mean, like I guess this
With this
specific hand.
specific hand, yeah.
This specific hand is probably going to be one of the better bluffs, given you got to really, you just don't want to have a jack or a 10 in your hand. So this is one of the better ones. So this for me is maybe going to be a 70.
The king of hearts is a nice card to have. You don't block maybe a potential brick nut flush draw, and it's kind of rare here from a small blind, but
It's
sometimes
possible you could have ace king. Ace king,
possible.
ace of hearts, not yeah.
Possible. And then it's also like, if he did decide to trap a flush on the turn, you're going to block that. But you're almost never going to block hands that are bricked flush draws with the king.
Right.
So, it's a much better bluff hand than, that's the 10 or the jack is substantially worse. I think the ace may be a little bit worse. So all these factors lead me towards mainly jamming the river.
Nice.
And this is well played from AC Poker. I like how this was played. Maybe the preflop size is a little bit off. One thing I will say, what I'd recommend you guys doing when you do all in, just wager all your chips, just so you don't have any sizing tells. I'm not saying that it's going to be that important or will probably ever matter, but it's just easy. Just make it all your chips, and then whether you're bluffing or value bet, you always know you're doing the same thing.
So yeah, I definitely agree with Doug and Ryan there about the pre-flop 3 betting size. I should have probably made it, 1100. With the squeeze, there's a lot of money in there. Plus, yeah, you got to take into account the antes, so that builds the pot as it is with just antes. So as you'll see, a lot of my 3 betting and flop bets were kind of on the small side in this tournament, which depends. Like, you can make smaller bets based on stack sizes. If the stack sizes and blinds are, the stack sizes are small, blinds are up, like, you can start making smaller bets, especially in position with three betting in position. But I think in this case, I definitely could have made it more pre-flop. Um, given that there was a raiser and a caller, so by me squeezing, probably like 1100, 1200. You know, and the blinds weren't really that high as of now. People are still sitting with a lot of big blinds. The other thing too is like when you're three betting ace king, don't necessarily want to fold out weaker aces like ace queen ace jack. So you kind of want to like or king queen. So you kind of want to flop or an ace or a king, and then just hopefully take a lot more of their chips when you both flop pairs. So that's kind of the other thing I kind of like, with the ace king, I kind of want to don't fold out them, but playing ace king, four way is harder when you're not flopping an ace or a king. Here on this board, it was a good flop, but I didn't want to go crazy four way just because if someone has the ace of hearts, it's like really not good for us, especially if it's like ace queen with the ace of hearts, or like we're pretty dead in that spot. But once I checked the flop, Funky Jesus, who I know, cold calls a three bet. So yeah, I had really just put him on tens or jacks here with a heart. He also, because that's really the only hand he has in his range here. You know, Most likely because he also could have ace king with the ace of hearts. Maybe ace queen, but I think he would have. You know, I didn't put him on that. So the river was a good river for us because he's gonna, him having tens or jacks, is a good hand. So we can kind of bluff him off. We do have the heart blocker, so we could have had played it like we had a flush. Also, we could have aces or kings. So, and unless he's like slow playing us out of queens here, he's probably pretty much, we're getting him to fold, pretty much most other hands. So, it's a good bluff.
Okay. Open, face 3-bet. Oh man, this is ugly, but we're gonna have to call. No way around it. Well,
That's a flop.
It got a lot less ugly, fees.
Yeah.
Very, very obvious bet jam. Nothing to talk about here. I would bet a little bit bigger on this turn, though.
This hand just
I don't
plays
think
itself.
he set the pot correctly. First off, when there's three diamonds, typically the size on the turn, it makes more sense to bet large because you want to deny equity. Like if our opponent has, let's just say, eights with a diamond, we want to bet a size where he's got a tough decision, and we might get some weaker hands with diamonds off their equity. And then additionally, it sets up a nice size river jam, so seems good. And this is a very clear river jam.
This hand plays itself.
I had heads up that the about and a pair. I also blocked like ace and ace 8, which probably something like you value the ace.
Okay.
He had ace queen.
Great jam. Oh, got this poor guy.
Yep.
Nice.
He had the diamond too.
Okay. Big blind call. Just check this down and fold to a bet. Yeah, fold to a bet. I honestly just bet fold this. I know that's a weird line with top pair, but I'm trying to get him off of either one of these players off of some equity against me. There's a lot of rounds I can't even call down anyway. Yeah, I think I just bet the flop.
Yeah, I especially agree given like I was talking about the multi-way dynamics from earlier. Makes it
You
tough.
could
on
check
both
our
of them.
bet. I think pot
I
control.
don't hate check bet turn.
Don't want to get crazy with an ace without a diamond there.
Okay, so small blind 3x into the big blind. I like betting this flop a lot. Yeah.
Why do you like betting that flop?
Well, so if you think about our range versus their range, right? We should have like roughly top 60-70% of hands or something. They should have like something like top 70-75%, but without their top 10-15% of hands that are three betting. So we've got a lot of very strong hands our opponent can't have. I think a lot of the 5x hands aren't going to be flatting pre. They're going to be letting it go pre. Some of his worst hands are going to fold to a 3x here. So I just think we have too much of a range advantage to do much checking.
Seems reasonable.
So I would occasionally mix in the 4-bet here. Once in a while, mix in the 4-bet. But I'm mainly flatting. I don't think I'm ever going to fold here. So your odds are just too good. All right, this is a check call. It's the good news. What do you like on the river here, Fees?
You can either bet really small to mix with the potential straight or flush draw that missed, put his range in a tough spot, and just offer those hands a bit of coverage from being having your opponent sort of hero call. It's not unreasonable to think he maybe at the flop with kings or queens, maybe even a worse ace. I think given the I think the strength of our ace matters in that way, and that like ace two or even ace five or potential 3-bet candidates, maybe even ace seven, the way the tournament's gone. But I think the stronger the ace, the more you're sort of like, I would say you lean towards the really small bet. Maybe 2 to 3K. And then with this one, could go either way, but maybe lean towards checking.
I don't hate jamming. Actually, I don't hate any of our options here. I don't mind a large bet, a small bet, a check. I can kind of get behind everything. I just think we're very rarely beat, and I think a lot of the hands that we're beat by are going to get most of our money, if not all of our money, anyway. So I'm not like that concerned about the ace tens. Obviously, when it does happen, it sucks. But I do think that there's a chance he's got hands like kings, queens. Maybe if he did decide to bet like a king jack on the flop, and then even once in a while like an ace five, ace deuce, ace seven type hand, ace suited eight type hand. Okay, well if he doesn't bet this, you're
Yeah.
yeah.
Probably toast.
I think I jam on the turn his shoes.
Yeah, definitely reasonable. I mean, it's hard to like. What else are you bluffing with? Basically nothing.
Just don't bluff, man. Easy.
Well, the other thing is that like he doesn't block any of the Jack X or like Broadway combos.
Yeah, no,
like,
it seems quite good.
it's like it's the nut jam.
Okay, I like mixing 3-bet and flat here on the button.
Take it down.
See, like I just don't think, man. I mean, with the ante, I guess it can't be that bad. But anytime I look at small blind flats, they're just always going poorly for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, and all the solver stuff I played around with, like it just does not it just plays absurdly tight in the small blind.
But does that include an over one big blind ante?
No, but just from like a conceptual standpoint, it is on the tighter side. And then I think, from like the way that we looked at like how the results go,
I think I'd mainly bet about half pot here. We got lots of middling pairs, some boats, some flush draws.
I agree.
Button check back.
it's good.
I think I would mainly check fold here. I don't think the heart is extremely relevant, but I would prefer to not have a heart. And so I think I'm mainly letting this one go.
Yeah, I think the lower broadways are good bets.
I don't hate the bet either.
Oh wow.
Whoa.
All right.
Whoa.
Good call.
So I feel like there's something going on here that we're not privy to, Fees. Like these guys have to know each other or something, right?
It must be. It must be. I will say that like from my experience, once you probe, I don't know about ace jack, but like once you probe turn, I get called down. I specifically get called down there a lot. So I think one and then done.
Yeah, I mean, he just makes a good call, but like get caught bluffing. I just think that I put him on that hand, so I'm kind of like thinking he might fold because it's not like it was the worst run out for me. Obviously flush draws missed there, but like I'm in the big blind. I'm in the big blind. I mean that can hit me at least a lot of the time with just some sort of pairs or straights, 5-6s. So I can't. I mean I don't hate my bet there. I just hoping he might fold ace jack. 3-way. But I think I had played before with him, so I think we did have a little bit of a history, which what they were saying. But I don't want my bet.
Return, I get called down. I specifically get called down there a lot. So I think one and then done, and then bet bigger and value bet then on the river is good.
I would mainly just check fold.
Now you got to bet.
I honestly hate bluffing this spot phase.
I love it. I think it's
I
great.
have caught so many people bluffing here because it's just like the dumbest bluff, and it's just so easy to tell it's a bluff. Because people are almost always betting Jack 10 and flush draws, and any like 10-9, 9-6, 9-5, Jack 9.
Yeah, but in his
Like when
shoes, you
people
can
when
value.
people when people bet this river, they're like, "I'm bluffing," and you're like, "All right," and you call, and then they're like, "Ah, nothing."
Yeah, I
That's how
mean
that's how I interpret this spot.
that is an astute observation.
It's interesting that you then see this spot and like, oh, great bluff spot. Like it's just like it's like so.
Right, because they're not because most players don't have don't understand it. They just see like a lot of things out there. And I mean, at this point you could be value betting a 7 and I certainly would. There's
Oh
like a
yeah, for
number
sure. Oh, for sure.
and you're also I mean, I don't think I do think ace king and queen 9 are all are all turn checks because you're betting basically all the worst nines. Um, so that said, you are sort of like making some nines. You're double checking a number 2x flush draw, ace high flush draw, 4x flush draw. But that's like almost from like a playing your sort of that's how I would play versus you as like a technically sort of sound sort of way. I think they just see a lot of stuff out there. They have ace 5 and they just or ace queen. They just give up.
This is legitimately one of my least favorite bluff spots in poker.
Conversely, one of my favorites. Got him.
Got him.
So, two things on this. I feel that I mean, it's a great card for me because if Sauce is raising with I think pretty wide. I played with him before, but if Sauce has like 9-10, 10 Jack, or even 2 diamonds, like he's gonna be betting probably the flop and flop or turn. So I'm not putting him on any nines. I mean, I'm just putting him on like probably 2 high cards like ace, X, whatever. So so the 9 comes. I just felt like it was a great card for me. I don't think he doesn't have any flushes. He doesn't have any nines. You know, he probably would have bet an 8 or a 7 at some point down on flop or turn. So, but I think I don't have good showdown value. I feel like most of the time I think if he just has ace X, ace king, ace 3, ace whatever, or even king queen, king jack, so I have to bet there in order to win the hand. I think a lot of the time. But on the other hand, if Sauce is thinking that I have a flush draw or like a 9-10, then he would think that I would bet the turn after he checks back, which I didn't. So he can also put me on just total air as well. But kind of hard for him to call in that spot, I think.
Well, if it works, it works. But if any of you guys at home tried that shit versus me, you're going to be on the first bus back to wherever you came from. All right. Pocket fives. All right. Now I'm gonna have to go the other way, and when I play people, I gotta like start folding it. Just leveling. All right, under the gun open. We got WL forever. So this guy we know a little bit about. We're done. There's
No money can go into this.
There is nothing to talk about here. Okay, I don't mind the call. I think I would mainly bet small here, but working the occasional check. Almost always bet here.
I think I should be betting this river.
I bet again.
I should be betting.
Can have a 3. I think he's got more 9s and 8s in his range. You could have a flush. You could have, I guess, Jack 10 or a
So here I'm betting just because, ADM definitely isn't going to be checking probably any 10 jacks in the flop, so I don't give him a straight. He'd probably be betting a flush draw on the flop too a lot of the time, so I'm not giving him a flush. I doubt he's not going to be calling with a 3 a lot of the time, although he could have a 3. Definitely has more 9s and 8s there, so I think I got to put in a decent sized bet after I check the flop. So I don't think he has any of those hands that beat us.
The one thing I dislike is limp check, and I think there's just a lot of 3s in that range.
There is, but I would risk it, especially when the flush gets
in. You could have some 3s in the big blind, obviously. But
you're like less likely to be bunkers.
Raise call, bet. You should call here with the occasional raise. And then definitely fold turn. Under the gun open, call big blind. This is a spot I'm mainly folding. We can have like a ton of straight draws, and we can even have like a straight draw with a spade in it. And then we can have a lot of higher straight draws. I mean, like I would say every once in a while I'll get like fight. Oh, he's really short
He's
too.
super short.
Yeah,
Yeah,
this is just clear fold.
clear fold.
Sorry,
Yep.
I didn't think about stacks there.
Clear fold.
Mid open. I guess call.
This is a good call. Don't worry, Doug.
I've-
This one will work out.
I was in a lot of spots in the small blind where I had, you know,
I like it though.
above average hands, and it's just
See, but like
sometimes they're
there's
tough to
just so
play.
many spots like that in the small blind. The small blind's the worst. Just the worst spot.
Yeah, you should do a fair bit.
I'll take my big blind.
I think doing a fair bit of raising on some of those spots is pretty good and will help it. But yeah, it's tough.
I mainly bet here. I think we want to get some value. We want to give people a chance to raise. We don't want us to check through.
Sure.
There's a lot they can continue with, but I
Just-
don't hate working in a check every now and then.
Yeah, me too. I really like betting just because of the
Draw heavy
6,
board.
7, 7, sixes and like all the straight.
You
flush
can't
draws they
check
can
all your
potentially raise
sets.
with. It's just so good.
So I like the
I'm
bet.
taking one off here.
Check. I mean, obviously check. I'm just like, is this our bluff? Whoa.
Well, he thinks he has
Actually-
flushes. I still wouldn't do this because I think we can have 6-4, maybe 8-4 suited backdoor flush draw, a bunch of worse sevens.
Yeah, we're set.
I just think we're too high in our range.
Mm.
But it's kind of reasonable. Like I see where he's coming from. I'd rather be the guy who turns too much into a bluff here than not enough. I'll tell you that much, Fees.
Definitely.
I'd rather range.
Let's go back and look
I
at
really
that
like
hand.
bet potentially raise with. It's just so good. It's- and like all the straight and flush draws they can potentially raise with. It's just so good.
I'm taking one off here.
So he didn't open the pot pre-flop, so he wasn't the C better. Which if it was a C better, I would but he's standard C betting, trying to rep the king and then checking back. I don't put him on a king, but he was the guy that flatted to the raise pre-flop. So a little worried he could have a king, but if he has just like anything else, like eights, nines, tens, I think we can get him off this because we have the club. We can represent flushes. In the big blind, we can represent a 5, a king, 6, 8. So I think there's a lot of hands there that, if we check down, he could have us beat with some of those hands. But I think we can get him off at a good amount of the time on a bet. Because was it 3 or 4 way? So it's like, you have to put me on something. It wasn't like we were heads up. So, thinking I could probably have something there a lot of the time.
Check. I mean, obviously check. I'm just like, is this our bluff? Whoa.
Well, he
It
thinks he has
actually,
flushes.
was a bet to a bluff.
I still wouldn't do this because I think we
It
can
wasn't
have
a value
6-4, maybe 8-4. I better than not enough. I'll tell you that. Like why? Like,
Possibly the bubble.
do you think that? No, it's gotta be too early for the bubble, right?
I would guess so, but I mean,
It's right with
just
15K.
lost.
There's no way. We're nowhere even near the bubble.
Here's a hand.
This is a fold.
Whoa. Yeah, we gotta
This is a
fold.
fold. Well,
Raise-
actually, I like the check call.
Okay, turn play is pretty good. River play. River
I like
play's
the
pretty
bet.
good too.
I like the bet.
Yeah.
Looks real bluffy too.
That guy's real confused.
That guy's like, you're not gonna believe this guy. Float the flop, Queen Jack.
That guy.
Fold.
So I don't advise this play, but sometimes you just gotta float the queen
I
jack
would
out of
guess so, but-
position, guys.
It's right with
Just
15K.
lost.
There's no way.
Totally
we're nowhere even near the
whiffing.
bubble. This is a
Whoa.
fold.
We knew the jack was
Yeah, we
coming,
gotta
so
Fold. Well,
Raise-
actually, I like the check call.
Okay, turn play is pretty good. River play. River
I like
play's
the
pretty
bet.
good too.
I like the bet.
Yeah.
Looks real bluffy too.
So-
That guy's real confused.
I feel like this is definitely unorthodox, but I don't know if I had notes on this guy, but and yeah, I definitely wouldn't advise making this play, but sometimes you gotta be a boss with the queen jack. Out of position, just totally missing the flop. But I think maybe I'm thinking like, I can represent some hands like maybe a 7. Like if the turn comes like a 3, I can represent some sort of straight draws. If he checks back the turn, like he could just be continuation betting with high cards. So I got like ace king, ace 10. Although we do block some of the ace queen, ace jacks. If the turn comes like a 9 and he just like checks back and then like a 3 comes, I'm gonna be betting the river like every time, and he's just gonna. I think he's gonna be able to. I think he's gonna fold a lot of his ace highs. Especially with certain runouts. Or we can just hit a queen or a jack like we did, and get there. But
This is a
Whoa.
fold.
Yeah, we gotta
This is a
fold.
fold. Well,
Raise
actually, I like the check call.
Okay, turn play is pretty good. River play. River
I like
play's
the
pretty
bet.
good too.
I like the bet.
Yeah.
Looks real bluffy too.
That guy's real confused.
That guy's like, you're not gonna believe this guy. Follow the pot, queen, jack, 7, 7.
that was my plan the whole time.
I knew my sixes were good.
Just call.
Call. Yeah. Okay. Well, same
A
thing.
call is probably right, but
No, this is
I mean,
different. He's
Well, I
jamming.
mean, but if this guy jams, are we folding? No, right?
No, but there are hands we would want to with.
Right. Yeah. Well,
So, like-
I was speaking in the sake of this particular hand.
Oh yeah, well I mean this hand is relevant. We're just
Right.
like in a lot of these spots we're just trying to give ourselves playability with hands that like wouldn't want to go the distance.
For instance, ace queen.
And like if you want to call when you have aces and kings and like re-raise all in with ace king, that's fine. Usually ace king suited I put a little more towards the trapping and a little less towards the equity denial, but
woo.
right. I'd mainly 3-bet this. Call. I really don't like this
Don't
guy's jam.
like this guy's jam. He's not getting it through. It's like he needs like more chips essentially to make this play. And even with this hand,
You get 3 better call in my hand.
agree.
I feel like he undergone raise, so I didn't. I mean, I got to put
really
him
don't
on
like this
something
guy's
don't
jam.
like
pretty
this
strong.
guy's jam. He's not getting it through. It's like
But I
needs-
can 3-bet
totally
the ace
agree.
queen sometimes too.
Why did we just go back a hand or did he just open 9-8 again?
Nope, 9-8 again. Could be his favorite hand.
Let's also raise a little bigger than men. Oh, I didn't realize it was his favorite hand fees. I forgot. Okay, that's fine. Then.
It's not my favorite hand. I don't know why I was selecting the 8-9 offsuit, but 7-8
excuse me,
suited is
check
actually
call.
my favorite hand. I think I'm just playing my stack at this point.
Jam. This is a jam.
Yeah, you could almost
Easy
could
check
basically
call.
you could basically jam this with no ante, but the ante's gigantic. So
Checks back the
Whoa.
trips.
wow.
Nitopotamus. Okay. I'm thinking. See, like here, I don't mind this like a little smaller, kind of like we were doing earlier. I don't mind like a 3450 here, because or even 3250 because like the thing is like the stacks behind aren't deep enough to ever flat. They're gonna have the jammer fold.
This is a spot. I think I 3-bet, but I think a lot of the times now, if I played this hand, I would maybe just flat because, like he's saying, yeah, like these 2 stacks over here they could squeeze jam because 2 late, late raiser and caller. Thinking maybe we're weak, they might just go ahead and jam over the top. So I'm essentially setting the trap. So nowadays I would probably do that. I didn't in this spot though.
And we're heads up, and that size also makes 4-betting really awkward for him. So I don't mind like a little smaller than those other spots that we were in, situations.
Mostly small bet with some checks.
See, the thing is, like, I know that like from a solver standpoint, it hates checking here with a passion. But from like a me having played poker standpoint, I just love the check.
Why? And
Because stuff goes down, you have top set.
okay, it's completely reasonable. And top set above, like I would never check a hand like kings here for sure, like ever.
Oh, for sure. For sure.
Um,
Absolutely for sure.
But top set is a completely different animal. checks trap. The only problem about this line is that, like, is he really ever gonna bluff jam the river? Like, it's unusual. I'm sure it happens, but
Probably not.
Yeah. I did see bet with the queens. Like, you can't just check all of your top sets all the time. It's just because it becomes too, um, you know, like polarized. Like if you're always just checking, three betting and checking top sets, like they're gonna just know a lot of the time kind of like what you have. And then if you're c betting, then they can kind of like narrow down like what you have a lot of the time. So I do a lot of times like the c bet the nuts like top set and then checking back the turn, because like a lot of times they're just never gonna put you on flopping a top set. Like they might think that you're gonna be slow playing top sets a lot. Like just a lot of the guys I know I play against just will never think that c betting the nuts and then just checking back the turn, because it seems that kind of line seems more of like a like you're maybe c betting kind of like a mid pair or ace king, like a miss type hand, and then like you're betting it to try and get them off and then checking back, slowing down. So I think they might think that you have maybe a weaker hand than you do, and then and then by checking back the turn you allow the bluff by them on the river, or if they check again you might bet, doing the bet check betting, they might not believe you, because that seems more of like sometimes a bluffier or fishier type of line when you just totally missed. But yeah, so I mean I'll take it. I did get him to bet maybe some type of hand that he missed or like a weaker hand, so we did get some chips out of it. But I mean any line I think you can take there is pretty okay.
the only problem about this line is that, like, does he bet this move?
Probably not.
Probably not.
I would say 95% people would never, and then 5% people would do it way too much.
Yeah, I agree. And it actually kind of seems like a great spot because his bet size is weird. Like, why are you not just jamming, man? Like, look how it's like pot size bet.
I guess fold here versus the 3-bet.
He's just way too short for me to be calling. I don't
fold.
like that hand.
I understand you're begrudging it, but I mean that guy just,
You only need 32% equity, man.
you don't have it.
It can't be that easy of a fold.
It's even worse when you're short because that hand's gonna get like eaten alive when you're short.
You only need 32% equity. How
It's
can
not
it be
happening.
an easy fold?
It's not happening.
Okay, so then what are you getting? Your 28, 30?
From
You're not getting
25 tops.
no,
Yeah.
no.
Dude,
Fees is lying to you,
he
good
is
people.
not. There's no way. Because what do you're flopping like an ace or a flush draw? Like sometimes you get torched
I
on tie board.
don't like the
How
call.
often you have?
And all just go like pot left.
I'm more okay. I agree on a fold, but it's more begrudgingly. For me, anyway. Okay, open and fold a jam. Looks good. Call. You think we're getting 19% fees or no?
Yeah,
No,
this
let's go.
is indubitably a call. I mean, this asshole probably just has aces, but like this one, just fuck him, call.
Yeah,
Okay,
he
top
just
set's
has
good,
top
man.
set or whatever. I hate calling the short stacks who just 3-bet instead of jamming, because it just looks like it just smells like aces. Although you can reverse do that with weaker hands because they might think you have aces when you really don't. So it's like when you have like 10 big blinds or less and you just make a small 3-bet, it's like you're just begging for a call, kind of like you said. Eight, 9
Please.
again.
Oh, he does not got favorite hand, dude. It has to be.
It's not. I don't know.
This has to be his favorite hand.
This might be the only hand I actually limped
I
all
don't.
tournament.
I don't totally hate this,
What?
but I think you should fold. So like, you're very like you're not gonna get raised here almost ever. IMO.
Yeah. Well, yeah,
This
but
guy
you
is
still,
clearly this guy is clearly a reg with this screen name. Clearly a reg. The most off reg ever. So this guy has like an insanely strong hand, and you need 23% equity, and like you're never getting raised from these guys, or very rarely getting raised. But folding is better.
Yes. I do not share Doug's optimism.
If you had to beat VIP 9-8, I like the call over the raise.
Well, yeah, raise would. I mean, you would just be giving fade or holds either your raise size and then the equity punt from
I
the.
think Fedor Holz was a guy who live at a Borgata tournament had a bad reg shirt on or some sort of Doug Polk shirt. Um, just a little bit of pointless information there.
Call or just the race size.
Okay, let's get into some not dicey territory. Pocket aces,
All
facing
right.
a 3
Doug's
bet.
favorite hand.
My favorite hand. I'm going to go ahead and mainly call here. Because if I 4-bet, it
This
has
hand
to
I
be
hated.
all in, and I really hate doing that with aces. I'm more of a give them some rope kind of guy, Fees.
Yeah, I think it's good. I think like queens always 4-bet, and then no,
Yeah,
and then
it's
like-
aces.
bad move.
This size is just so. I mean, I know that
But here, one thing in his defense, where even you would absolutely like, there's tournament players that do all kinds of whack shit in 3 and 4
True.
situation, right?
that's true.
That could be the situation. Yes, it's like okay, so this guy fucked up. Like that's not a spot, and I would probably call too. But if it's like there's some assholes out there that like don't require this. They're just willing to do dumb stuff pre. You go 4-bet versus them. If
Go back to that. Yeah, I think that at this point the time bank was just getting down, and I just had to make a decision. With his stack, I think he's short enough for me to just call and just let him, like they said, hang himself. If he's deeper, I like the 3-bet, but I can't, like, I don't want to 3-bet jam because then he's forced to, like, he can't then come over the top. He has no fold equity, so I think I like just flatting, or jamming actually rather than this, because this move looks super strong, like just like a min 4-bet. I think he kind of knows that I have a big hand. I think I may have only done that only because I think maybe Ben Dover was playing a lot tighter, and I thought maybe he actually had like a hand like kings or queens. So I'm like, well, let's just get it in then. But I think nowadays I think I'm just flatting this hand because I don't like being able to either jam and then like I like to. I like for him to have a bigger stack so that I can just 3-bet and then giving him some rope to then come over the top if needed or just call.
one thing in his defense, depends. You're just willing to do dumb stuff pre. You go 4-bet versus them. If you don't have that sort of read though, just call.
Okay, a little blind steal. Okay, versus the stack. Versus the stack is fine. He's only 9K.
Yeah, but then like, so you just bet fold.
No, you back out with it, obviously.
Yeah, but like he flatted the small blind. He's not gonna have like a 7 or a 6, especially if he's a reg. He flats with like Jack 10 suited, Ace 10 suited, things like this.
He could have 8s. He could.
I don't even know if he has 8s. What was the blind? I think he shoves 8s. He's more like unpaired.
I think I guess check. Yeah. Prefer check. Bet fold is my least. Please, I hate bet fold.
Bet fold actually might, if you bet smaller, bet fold actually might not be that bad because again, I don't think he has 8s, so he's sort of relegated to the suited 10x hands, and then you're like hoping that he has queen jack and then bluffs it, which
I would check call. I would bet.
I'm here for the value.
You don't have to go so
bigger.
No
small.
value bet a
Not
heart.
bigger.
Yeah, you're good. Man, this is ugly. I guess we're 3-bet folding.
Yeah. Wow.
I don't mind mixing in
I've
some
lost
flats.
every single small blind flat hand so far.
Yeah, welcome
I've
to
had-
small
yeah.
line fees.
I've had a lot of hands in the
Basically,
small
3-bet
blind that
fold
are
top
just
5%, just
very
call it.
good, and I could have 3-bet or just called.
Now
I
this
hate just
guy
calling in
is
the small
playing
blind
a lot
now.
of small blinds. Makes me feel a little less like he's a reg.
Yeah, you definitely could have. I mean, he also limped a hand.
True. But then bet the flop. I don't know. I wish we could have seen that one, but okay. This is a weird spot. I kind of like a flat.
But
I would check back the flop.
I would check the flop. Don't like the bet size.
I really hate our removal. Like I just really hate our removal. Like these are cards we desperately want them to have. Yeah.
Just because we want it there doesn't mean that we wouldn't have won it from whatever he did have on the later street in some way.
Under the gun open. Got a 3-bet here.
Yeah, just 3-bet.
He might even be trapping his really good hands with a limp. I guess you call flop.
I think you can fold jacks, no heart, because again, and Doug is saying this because King Jack, Ace Jack, Jack 9 are a bunch of bluff hands, but
I think
do
I only
that,
flatted jacks because
yeah, it's like you need him to
I think
have that.
Fader
Very
holds. I
unlikely
think
he does,
I
but
think
do
I
think
from
it's a
playing with
flop.
him, he's super tight
Yeah,
under the gun
equity
raise.
given,
So
crazy odds,
I just
crazy odds.
would rather just see a flop
Yeah,
rather
fine
than
with that.
jam it. Well, I could have jammed easily or 3-bet. I meant to get it all in pre-flop.
Yeah, there's about enough when I like it. Whoa. I think I'm letting this
Just
one go, fees.
just a pure bluff, and
Uh,
we
Yeah,
get it
this is
through.
really low frequency. I don't hate it. But it cannot be common.
I mean, he's making some moves, and like enough of them have worked out thus far. But yes, this is poor hand selection.
I mean, at this point, I think I'm just playing like his stack size. Like his stack size is so small that he can't it's gonna be hard for him to just jam like any under pairs or any like ace tens or things like that. So I'm just putting in a small raise, and if he jams, I can always just fold. So I think like just given his stack size, he has like no maneuverability. Like he has to just kind of if he doesn't have like a king or a jack, like I put him in a tough spot. But
I think I'm letting this one go, fees.
Over.
Should just ship this. Oh, there's too many blinds.
I
Maybe
think-
it's a little too many blinds.
I think suited hand, crazy price.
Yeah. I like a limp as well.
I think I'm raising. I think again, I'm just min raising. Just given their stack sizes, like I don't need to raise like 3x over 3x to get them to fold. I can make a little bit over a 2.1, 2.2x raise to get them off any hands. Just given again their stack sizes, I don't need to go crazy.
Maybe
think-
it's a little too many blinds.
I think suited hand, crazy price.
Yeah. I like a limp as well.
Somehow in the small blind again. Oh, I guess yeah, VPIP was true.
Taking some of these down.
It's good. Okay.
I think I would.
Oh, interesting.
I like a mix here.
I mix. I mostly bet though.
I think you should mainly bet, but I like mixing in some checks.
Great delay.
And
I think my double delays have equity.
oh, so you're gonna double delay like queen 10 here?
Yeah.
Okay, interesting. Why is that?
Actually, well, a solver would say do the opposite. That was just because it had a better chance, because it would be able to call and win on some probes, whereas this call and wins on less probes. So it's like from that perspective, it's more efficient. Your like overall like one hand percentage is different, but I think the way the solver would view it is it has hands that it would call down with, and then hands that it would subsequently bluff. This hand's equity is very low. It doesn't really care about that. What it more so cares about, and this is where it gets a lot of its equity from, is very difficult to balance as a human, is that it would bet with queen 10, and then when it improved to something like a king, it would use very big bets, if not all ins. And,
Okay.
which you could do. So.
All right, well, that's going to bring us to the end of part 1, so stay tuned. We'll be back for the rest of this tournament.
All right, let's get into part 2 of the video. I'm gonna pull this up real quick.
All right, guys. All right, guys, welcome back to the second part of our final tournament that we're going to be reviewing. Let's go ahead and get right into the mix here. So we are kicking it off exactly where we left off. I think we're not quite in the money yet. This is a $500 tournament, New Jersey Scoop main event. Bit of a loose open here. Run of the gun +2.
Yep. He's
It's
right.
not too crazy, but I think it's a little on the loose side. Standard. Okay, looks like a pretty classic defend. Check, check. Like a turn check. What do you think here? Are you going for some value in the river fees?
Yeah, I think like he's just too likely to check a 10, and you want to get the bet in versus that, and yeah, just go for it.
I
Probably
like
bet.
it.
I'd probably bet to do half pop, but I think this is fine too.
Yeah, I mean, I like betting here. I also like a little bit of a larger size, but
Yeah, it's gonna
goes
happen
off.
sometimes. Don't worry too much about it.
Yeah, that seems okay. If I'm him, I'm probably betting the turn a lot with his hand. So, I don't expect to have too many king jacks in his range. Definitely a button open. I think I'm checking this one back. I don't think that our hand plays too well when we do bet. I think we have plenty of other bluffs to choose from. We're gonna have a lot of hands with a button here where if we're always betting our ace highs. I'm not a huge fan of that, but I don't mind like throwing a bet in every now and again.
Yeah, I sort of agree. Although specifically, I think with a6, a7, you could probably make a pretty good argument for just never betting, because 2, 3, 4 are really good, and then even 8, 9 sort of do make straights, whereas like 7 and 6 are pretty bad.
All right, definitely call a turn. These are actually some of my favorite call down hands on bricks because you just almost never block any of the bluffs with the ace. Like if they do go bet and you have a hand like I'm just gonna say like 10-8 with the 8 of spades. I actually think I prefer a7 by a ton. Looking at the call, well, we'd probably call both in practice, but the point is you want to think about the removal that you have against their bluff range as well as their value range. And check river looks good. Okay. Well played, a7. And this is probably the point of the tournament where we're going to see the most opening and then just taking down the blinds because I think we're going to be approaching the bubble somewhat soon. Probably not quite yet, though. Fold 3x here from the hijack. What are you doing with the pocket twos and the cutoff?
Yeah, it's a pretty big raise. Honestly, I think I just fold, especially given how much you'd be facing 3 bets behind. It's just like not that valuable of a hand, and you have like 3 guys that would love to come over the top, and you make it really. You make a lot of decisions really excited, like a lot better for them, because you are going to have a flat range here, and it's not like you're trapping, so a lot of their shows become more profitable. And
I mean, they're going to pick up 10.3 here when they get this through.
Yeah, and there's a lot of shove stacks on the side, the 34-30. These 3 guys next to us can just have anything and just shove, so I do agree with just, I'm thinking at this point I have a pretty big stack, and hoping to flop a set against a guy with another big stack and hopefully get a big pot in against them. But again, these 3 shove stacks on the side, they're a little bit shorter, between 20-30 blinds, so and that's what happened. He ended up shoving. So, yep, I agree.
It's a very attractive jam spot. So, agree with you. I think if everyone was like this depth, I wouldn't mind it as much.
Yep.
But you don't want to give those short stacks profitable opportunities to kind of go for it. Versus this size from a hijack open, I think I just let this one go free.
20%. No rake.
It's good. It's pretty good. Well, I think like versus like a button open, we have a slam dunk call.
Sure.
I think versus a min raise, we have a much closer but a call. But versus like a 2.25, can't be that bad. But
it's close. It's certainly close. At like 7,
be close.
Yeah, 17%. You're like a huge buyer. At like 23%, you're probably a huge seller.
Check call.
Yeah.
All right, now things are getting a little dicey, fees.
Should have folded free.
Should have folded free. I honestly, it tilts me so hard when people say that. Like, yo, you just gotta fold pre, man.
But
That's why.
This is genuinely the reason why you should fold pre, is because if he's like doing if he chooses good bet sizes and is likely going to be betting thin and putting pressure on like a lot of your range, having some number of sort of weak queens, whatever hands people deuce is like okay, but now it gets murky where like you're giving this guy sort of a free pass to bluff the turn if you fold here.
Well, so the way that I would look at this, right, when I see this turn bet and this size, this is not a size you can fold many queens versus. If you're going to fold a lot of your queens, then he's just printing because he's betting a little over half pot. You're going to have a bunch of Broadway hands. You're going to have a few 2x hands. You're going to have some flush draws. You're going to have, versus this flop size, you're probably going to have some even hands like pocket sixes and sevens are going to have to, like, you're going to have just so many hands that have to call. So I don't think we're in the business of folding many second pairs here on the turn. I think the ones that I might look to fold are ones that seem to have particularly bad removal. Maybe if I have a hand that's like queen 10 with the 10 of hearts, maybe I could consider a fold. But for the most part here, we're going to be calling with every queen.
Yeah, pretty much.
It's a good point. There's less bluffs.
I actually
in his
really like
range.
calling this queen too because this is such a nice card to have.
So,
You're never
make a
going to be out.
six.
Yeah, you're never going to be out kicked here, and this is like just never one of his bluff hands. So
And
it's one of-
improving to a 6 is not. He's going to value bet everything that was value betting the turn will value bet the river.
another good point. Definitely an open. I think I would mainly 3-bet here.
Why? Because of the position.
Well, so for starters, I'm not really a big fan of flatting ace jack in this situation. I think I prefer 3-bet to flat. I don't know how much we're going to be making with a flat. I don't mind mixing a flat in as well. But 3-betting here I think is going to be very profitable. We're going to have plenty of better hands. And this is right around the cusp of where I want to be. So when I think about that, it kind of springs out as like a natural category 3, like bluff type hand that I might want to pick out here pre. And obviously our removal will be quite good, and our equity versus the key range will be at least somewhat decent.
Yeah, it is. Calls can be tough, but then like 3-bets are very straightforward and just generally pretty awesome when you have an ace in your hand.
This is actually kind of an interesting spot to bluff because having an ace, I think. Well, I'm not anticipating Wham Bam checking too many aces or ace king, but he could check a king jack. So I think this hand actually does block like some of the hands we want our opponents to have. And this is also a board where I just think about our range. And I think about, you really can't pick out equity bluffs on a board like this when you're fighting in the hijack. You're just not going to have like 6-4 suited. You're not going to have ace-4 suited. You're going to be 3-betting those hands or folding them pre. So you kind of have to pick out some non-equity bluffs. Maybe one of the absolute stone best hands for this would be a hand like, queen jack of diamonds or something where you block king queen and king jack. You have better backdoor equity, but I still don't mind taking a stab here with this from time to time.
Yeah, the ace kind of works both ways, and that it gives you equity. And yeah, you're right. He's not gonna maybe have it a ton, but and you're sort of looking to make them fold an ace, but the sort of added equity and being able to make a jack, queen 10, or an ace is pretty nice. And
And
yeah,
check fold's fine too.
you're also
We're-
flat number of
just
kings.
a low frequency, just putting in there. Approaching the bubble, I actually don't hate this. I don't exactly know where we're at, but as you get closer, it gets a little bit better. Flop bet seems good. All right.
Wow.
This looks
okay,
familiar. Okay.
Well, I guess we know
It's
what we're
not-
gonna do here.
Yes, we definitely do. This has got to be a probe.
What's your range here? Because you got to think that he'll improve to hands like ace king, king queen, maybe king jack that check the flops. So are you going sort of big and polar, or like?
I'm going about 60% pot here with a chunk of kings, some of my flush draws or a lot of my flush draws that don't have any showdown value. I wouldn't even mind working in like a few 9x hands that are maybe particularly vulnerable to some rivers, and then some of my flushes or most of my flushes and sets and two bears can be betting here as well. So I just think in this spot, when our opponent checks back, so this turn, it is kind of polarized. So this turn is very rarely extremely good for him because so many flushes are going to bet the flop. And he's not really going to have kings and king 9. Those are mainly going to bet the flop as well. And so in this spot, this turn card overall, I think, favors us a decent amount more than it does him. He does improve to a chunk of top pairs, but he mainly doesn't have that. So his range here is like mostly weak pairs and high card hands, and then like 25, 30% king X. So I just think that that's a spot we're going to be betting pretty aggressively.
I think the way that I would actually, the way I would play this spot is I would bet 40% on the turn to really put those high card hands into a tough situation. And then I would split my range on the river where most I would have two sizes where it's like one is sort of like this 60 to 75% size that is like mostly like a king. It could be a nine, and then could have some strong trap hands in there as well. And then I'll have an overbet size, which would be 2 to 3x pot, which will be two pair plus or a flush.
Okay, interesting. And on the river here, I'm mainly betting.
Yeah, at this point you got to think he's got a 5 or 3 raise high, and you could easily have a bluff. Queen six or queen seven, for instance, queen eight with no heart. That's
This strikes me as a good river bluff hand.
Yep.
And one of the things that might incentivize me to want to play hands like queen six is if I do see my opponents are unwilling to take stabs and pots, and I'm going to get to show down with my weak hands a lot. It makes calls like this pre-flop much better.
Yeah, big way you lose the equity is by the sort of that ace hand where it was like the sort of small bets that are pressuring those weaker hands.
So pre-flop here, a little bit of both looks good. We decided to call. Oh, this is ugly. I guess I would flat because I can't raise called off versus Hamilun. And
Well, don't underrate raise folding because this hand will, because it's a four-way situation, this hand actually will rank a lot lower, and so you don't really have like a straight up bluff raise on the flop. So you're weak. I mean, this is like basically the weakest draw you can have. A flush draw, any flush draw you would raise call. So I mean, if you thought about it, like this hand, maybe a hand like queen 10, queen jack of diamonds. So there's maybe 5 combos there because like otherwise you'd have the flush draw, or you'd have jack 10 um, the flush draw as well. It actually is, you're not really bluffing that much, and which you obviously can't because it's a four-way situation, and it ranks so low that you actually could pretty easily just like raise fold it. Even though it kind of sucks, you raise fold it. You kind of rock these guys off of a couple of hands, make it look pretty dicey for them, and it doesn't put you in a spot where it's like call and then maybe button calls, or the other guy shoves and puts the play on him, which um, could work out.
I guess the okay thing about raising too is you can call a jam versus the two guys behind, which is somewhat nice. And it might put Hummy in some tough spots too, facing like the action raise and then jam behind. Like if he has a hand like queens, it's going to be pretty ugly for him. So, I can see some logic there. I just typically try not to turn too many hands into bluffs, or rather raise folds when they just have so much equity here. I think I fold turn.
Yeah, I'm like super out.
Once in a while, I'll get a little spicy on the turn.
Yeah, once in a while some sriracha raises are okay, but most of the time just fold.
All right, raise call. Like the flop bet. Seems good. I'm going to assume we're like right on Bubble Town, because otherwise the king 4 and the cutoff.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty
It's
asshole status.
pretty much what that is.
Okay, definitely call. And easy check fold. Okay, so how many big blinds is this pre? This is 50. I think you got a jam.
Yeah, you got a jam.
I like jamming better in hindsight.
Well, pretty
but
good.
Oh, this is the best. When it goes check here fees, your opponent has a little something something, and they're really annoyed by this flop.
Yep.
You gotta bet jam. So
Yeah.
we gotta go like half.
Yeah, half pot's fine.
16K.
16K, 15K, 18K.
Oh.
Well,
Mwah.
good luck. I think he's trying to get greedy here and thinks that he's got kings. He's gonna fold the jam.
I think
He's got
that's kind of what I was
kings.
thinking. I at this point I'm just putting him on kings or jacks or something like that, and I want to get some value and get him to call. Although the river, it's less likely I have an ace, so I think I could even just bet like 2/3 pot. Because if he has like kings, jacks, maybe queens, he might pay it off. Um, so that was actually a great card. If it doesn't come an ace, if it comes like a four or something, then I think it might be a good bet size. But with the second ace pairing, I think I missed out on a little bit of value just because it's less. Again, it's less like I have an ace. So, but he
He's gonna fold
folded
the jam.
anyway.
Just gotta shove.
Might be true. Interestingly, they're actually in giving you stroke spot. I think you probably should fold kings if he jams, but then call with jacks
Right.
because you block
Ace jack
ace. Yeah.
or queen. Yeah.
Okay. Queen 9. Ace. Okay. I think you got to go 11-5 here. I think it's a bit too small.
Oh, there you go.
Oh,
Pretty good turn.
That's a pretty good turn indeed.
I think with his stack, I mean, no matter if I make it 9 or 11, I think he's folding or shoving anyway. So I kind of wanted to give him maybe a little bit of rope to shove.
I think you got to go
Under the gun, he's probably got something. I'm thinking anyway, but
11-5
no.
here.
I don't think he's ever just calling, no matter what I
I
raise.
think it's a bit too small.
Oh, there you go. Pretty good turn.
That's a pretty good turn indeed. I would mainly check, but once in a while work in some small bets. Gonna be hard for a bet there to ever be bad. They're just not gonna be able to defend enough.
Especially given whatever I don't know where we're at in this bubble situation, but that I think if the bubble's going on, betting is I think
Bubble.
it needs to be a little bit more towards betting,
It's coming up.
especially on a board like that where
Here I actually like both lines a lot, so I'd probably be splitting between them pretty evenly.
yeah, me too.
If you check back, this hand plays pretty nicely. If you bet, you have great equity and not a ton of short-hand value. So I mean,
I lean a
either
little
one.
bit towards betting queen 9 and then checking this one.
Got to bet now on the turn though.
Looks good.
Well played. I like how Hero's been playing so far.
Yeah,
Thanks,
he's
Doug.
made a lot of very sort of like sensible decisions. And clearly, is thinking about his range.
Same situation here, but I prefer a bet slightly more than the last one. Okay.
Good.
So this is a spot where I think a lot of solvers advocate for very high bet frequency, but I really do like checking this hand back. There's not many routes that we're scared of. It strengthens our check range. We got plenty of other hands to value bet. And I also think that most people just don't play aggressive enough versus bets here to make betting that good.
Meanwhile, the solver just says bet small with everything, which would be my default. But yes, there is. I've been playing a fair bit recently and like checking the spots that you're. I think like an exploitative standpoint, you're actually probably right, and you should just like even though you sort of gloss over it, and you always sort of play one way because that's sort of your default strategy. It's easy to parse. I think that the strategies where you just honestly, you're just setting the trap, works out for you.
So there's always something to be said for setting the trap fees.
Yeah.
Because you get some future EV there. If you're setting the trap a bunch and people see that, they're also going to bluff you. You get to show down more. You get, like some good things can happen. Your delay and double delays get more credit. Okay, it's going to be fold. I think I'm +1 open, mid call, blinds fold. This looks like a pretty standard flop bet to me. think we're getting a little too carried away in the trap here, though. Then we got plenty other hands.
I
That we
don't know
can...
if he's trapping. I think he thinks that like this guy doesn't have ace king, or like maybe he does, maybe he flats it. He has like ace queen, but like what hand is calling him down for 3 streets? I think is because like he like ace 10 is like the only one. Like ace 10 suited is like 2 combos.
If you're gonna be checking ace jack of spades, though, you're gonna have so few value bets.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. But like the correct adjustment to that would be to like call down with the queen, which I don't know if it's like really happening in practice. Um, it is like kind of like a weird spot where like if I do bet the flop and then I do get to the river, I'm not. It does feel like, oh, clearly this is like a value bet, but then, when I think about the way that people actually play, I don't know if I'm ever really getting called by worse.
We'll definitely bet the turn if we do check. And
True.
I would mainly bet the river, but I'd work in I don't like actually. Let me rephrase this. I'd bet river here like 80 or 90% of the time, and once in a while I would trap. But I'm not anticipating facing bets here very often because I think that any of the hands that are really checking back the flop, calling turn bet, not many of them have really improved other than flushes and pocket sevens. Flush is very unlikely because we have the nut flush. And then pocket sevens might jam anyway over a bet. So
Flushes are just tough because like it's like ace 10 of spades, king jack of spades, jack 10 of spades. Okay, we just kind of got lucky here.
Yeah. I mean, lucky hand here. I just, I think, like, I don't in this spot. I'm trying to remember, but I feel like I was checking. Again, you can't. I'm not. Anyone just can't be betting. The same situation every single time, right? Like you're not always gonna see bet your top pairs, although a lot of times you need to because obviously you're gonna be bluffing a lot. So bluffing some of the time, so you want to be betting more because a lot of times you are gonna be having bluffs, so you do want to be betting your pairs, but anyone's not gonna be betting the same the same situation, the same hand every time. So like you're not always just gonna bet ace jack, top pair ace like every single time. So you do want to, I think I was just mixing in some checks, sometimes just to like maybe slow player or maybe to allow him to bluff. But I think in this situation, I think it was weird because like it was like with his stack size too. Like, am I just gonna be betting every single street and then shoving river? I'm not like feeling too great about with my hand. I think maybe a hand like ace king, like I would just I'd feel a bit more comfortable with it. But given his stack size, like I didn't want to play for 40,000, so I think I was just playing a little bit more pot control and then maybe bluff catching as well. Plus, even if he has like a hand like 8-9 of spades or something like that, or something where I can get some value on the turn. I want him to catch up and then maybe even hit a flush like as it happened. But I think I was just playing more pot control than everything because I didn't want his stack size is just a little too awkward and kind of too middling for me to just play for all of it. So I think I was just playing it to get some value or bluff catch on some later streets. But a fortunate run out because he had a set and we rivered a flush. So I mean that could have gone either way. But we'll take
flushes and pocket and
Like, yeah, we'll at least be in a
flushes and because of how unlikely either of those are, you want to just bet yourself. Every once in a while, though, the Travsky is good.
right. Yeah, and by the way, it becomes.
I am praying we're on the stone bubble spot here, because otherwise 10-7 in the low jack.
You're gonna see a lot of hands also coming up. Yeah, I'm just raising a lot. I mean, I have a really big stack, and we are definitely approaching the bubble. I know at this spot. That's kind of why I'm opening loose, like they're saying. I mean, like, and he says later in the video, like when be greedy when others are fearful. You have to take advantage of it. You have to start raising, like, and opening your range a little bit more, just because. I mean, it is a bigger buy-in event. I mean, people want to squeeze into the money. So I'm just taking advantage of that at this point.
We have to. He's even been raising. By the way, the other thing about doing what Doug is saying is he said basically throughout this module about essentially not trapping is just like betting these top end value bets, which likely does have the highest EV, is that it then sets you up when your opponent sort of anticipate. It's really a great spot because you are getting the most value, you are getting the most EV, and then it really sets you up to where your opponents will then be a little bit more um, aggressive or reckless in spots where they perceive you to be checking, where they think you're always betting. Sort of those top end hands. So then those like small percent of checks end up really working out because you are getting the hands turned into bluffs, then value bet stabs, whatever it is.
So here we have the classic 10-7 offsuit open in the low jack, check back, jack 4-3, face check call, bet turn queen, which I can get behind, and river king. I like this barrel. I think this is like, I mean, even on the bubble, I would fold this pre. And then, turn, I could certainly just check back and bluff river. But if you do bet turn, we don't have a spade, so he'll have more like spade X hands that are going to check all, check fold. And then we do have a 10, which like now that he's very likely to have 10-9 or ace-10, but maybe he has one of those with a spade. Maybe those could be some hands that he'd have once in a blue moon. So I like this, I think.
Yep. Yeah, 100% agree. But I do think you bet the flop as well. I think that sucks. But the monotone boards are just tough for the big blind, especially when they're really wide.
Makes sense.
I still like the bluff there.
Button open call. This is getting pretty close to bet everything board, but I would look to bet this the vast majority of the time. I'm working at some occasional checks. I would mainly check this on the turn.
Yep.
I think I like a check
Like
better on the
almost always.
turn.
No.
I don't like.
If you're ever in a spot in the turn
Betting
where you're
here.
like, I could really go for a 1/3 pot bet, you're probably making a mistake.
Yeah. Although,
Probably
granted,
supposed to check.
this is better than I think a big bet with this hand until you get raised.
I think I'm betting a little bit just to get a little bit of
Oh.
value for some under
Should have
pairs.
checked. Now we got to call.
But I do like the check better.
Okay.
I feel like this did not need to be like this. I feel like we didn't have to do this.
Yeah. You're 100% right. Yeah, here we are. He's all in. Okay.
I actually don't think having the Jack of Hearts is that relevant because I think a lot of the Jack of Hearts, a lot of hands that make flushes with the Jack of Hearts would have check raise the flop. Like if he has Jack 8 of Hearts, he's just gonna check raise the flop. So
Do you think he ever has two pair that has been boated?
no,
So he has a flush or nothing?
he's got a flush or nothing.
Could have 3-2s. It's unlikely, but it's possible.
No, I don't think. I mean, okay, the word possible the word.
I think
the
it's yeah, but I don't think he sees the turn flush and then sees our bet size and is like worried about us having a flush. And
What if
he
we're
kind of
balanced, though,
he
Faze?
raised kind of weirdly small, and now he's like jamming the river.
Okay, I see what you're saying.
Looks a
I mean,
little
what are his
bluffish,
most likely flushes? They're most likely to be king high, right?
But I think he has a full house with pocket twos.
Or what are his most likely bluffs? Probably ace high.
Just ace high, ace of hearts.
So yeah, just like a king of hearts hand, king jack of hearts, king queen, king of hearts
Looks
are
a little
like
bluffish.
Yeah, I would. I mean, king, queen, king of
Overbetting.
hearts seems like an amazing call down hand.
slam dunk call. Yeah.
But
And then the next most likely after that, if you think, especially if you think he's raising the flop with the jack of hearts, would be like jack 10, 10 of hearts.
I just don't think Jack of Hearts helps us that much.
He'll have it. He's not always gonna. He's like if he has jack 5 of hearts. I mean, yeah, jack whatever of hearts. He's not always gonna raise.
See, like part of the reason I really don't like bet call in the turn is I just don't think we're really ever calling river, and I don't think like when we improve, it's even to like a hand that like we're happy with.
Right.
Very,
When I
very
see that
true.
set of
Even if I hit a heart, I
information,
don't
tend to just
necessarily
fold
like
the turn
it.
Really,
Or
given
two pair or jack.
pot odds plus. I mean, he could have like a low flush here.
If he has a low flush, you're still not getting the odds to draw.
Right, but but he could also be bluffing, and then like it's 20. It's for him, it's 20 to win 30. You have to be like way over folding if you're folding this. I mean, there's a mistake in here. This is why you got to check the turn. Honestly, like that's why, because this guy then is just like owning you. But you can't bet this turn here because then sort of it's just not going to work well in conjunction with the rest of your range.
The sizes were weird from our opponent, but yeah. Uh, 13. I would fold angrily. Angrily, fees.
Yeah, that one I
Uh,
think you're warranted
and
to be angry.
and by the way, this kind of highlights the idea that if he has 13 blinds here, like he does, he can actually shove a little wider than if he has like 10 or 11,
Mm-hmm.
because you do have fold equity. Whereas if you get down to 10, like if he jams 20k here, yeah, you'll fold some stuff, but you're not gonna fold much.
Right.
All right, mainly bet here. I'd work in check every now and then. I just check down as played. I don't really see this accomplishing very much.
Yeah, that's not entirely true. You could have twos through, eights and.
You can
I
go
think I'm only
fold
betting to
to
fold out any
I mean, he's gonna have to
lower
bet
pairs
twice,
or
but
king
we'll
tens
see what happens.
and that sort of thing.
Pretty good equity versus those hands. Oof, this is the worst line.
ace 10.
Small bet.
Ace
Oh,
10. Ace 10.
That's
Check
Wow.
why. That's why I was betting.
what
Got
do I
the
know?
max. Got the max there.
Yep. The only thing that would have been better than that is if he bets river and gets called. But yeah, pretty sweet.
Kind of hard to do that.
Seems good, yeah. Standard. Unfortunate. This is interesting.
Here we go.
Okay, just don't do this.
Yeah.
Just don't do this.
Yeah, just fold.
Is it like, are we on tilt or what? Like we just lose ace.
He
king to
hasn't raised in a
aces.
while, man.
And
This is the next hand.
are we just on tilt?
This guy
No,
got eliminated.
This is an orbit later.
This is yeah, we haven't raised it in a whole orbit, man. Like,
Don't even.
The
joke
old
like
4-7
that.
offsuit.
All right.
great flop.
I think upswing says
I
that
feel
that's
like
a
we're
raise in that
tilting.
spot.
It feels to me like we're tilting right now. What do you think, Bees?
I mean, yeah, don't raise pre. The flop is good. The flop bet is good. I mean, yeah, I guess check it down.
I think you shipped the turn, dude.
Yeah, like there's.
I think
Well,
we shipped
yeah,
the
but
turn.
would you rather ship the turn with this hand or 5-6? Because I presume they're both in our range. So like,
5-6 of diamonds, you're saying?
no,
You just mean stone 5-6.
stone nothing. What bluffs do you have here?
I mean, if we're opening 7-4 off in the cutoff, do you want me to answer that question, Bees?
I guess we have.
We've got
10x,
every suited king,
9.
every suited 10, probably most of the offsuit kings.
So you're
10,
shipping this because
8,
you didn't just make
10,
two pair. And we have
6.
5-8. We have 5 outs versus like ace 5.
All I'm doing is answering the question of what bluffs do we have here.
I
All
guess. Yeah, I don't know. Fold here.
Okay.
I think at this point, I'm just super playing the bubble at this point. Like I just, he's in the big blind, very short. I think it was because it was his big blind where he was super short that I could, maybe just get a fold out of him. I think that's literally the only reason why I was raising. Definitely a little unorthodox, not advised, but yeah, we're just playing our stack in the bubble.
Call. I think I mainly call and I work in a little bit of check raise.
I was gonna say I mainly raise and work in a little bit of call. Anything.
If you're gonna mainly raise, you're gonna have a lot of raising here. You got a ton of gutters.
Yeah,
You got
this
tons.
I know. This one just like stuck out to me as like a good one for one reason or another.
Is it because we're still on tilt?
No, it's because well, I'm just thinking like what do I like? Which ones do I like to improve to? Yeah, you know what? They're all fairly close. I think I raised 9-8 a lot, and I think the rest it's just giant mixopotamus, if you will.
I don't think I almost ever raise any here. In fact, that might be the one I don't raise.
Why was that?
Cause look at the stacks.
Yeah, but like if you call and you get to the,
Check jam.
you're gonna
Yeah.
No, but you would rather have
Yeah,
a
I'm
flush
gonna
draw.
see if
No,
I hit
you
a
want a
straight or
flush
not.
draw. You don't want the dry 9-8 for that. It's 8 outs, which you might not even have, versus like
Well, a lot of the flush draws can call a turn.
11. Yeah. So you call. So that's your call jam. You raise some gutter. I mean, sure.
This is a great card for me too.
You know what you have to do here,
Oh,
AC Poker.
and I,
0271.
didn't do it.
Yeah. Gotta shove. What?
Feels bad, man.
And I
Feels
checked
bad,
it
man.
back. Nowadays, if I'm playing this tournament today, at least I can say that I would definitely be. Don't think I would jam, but I would bet probably like 3/4 pot. I feel like if I jammed after he checks back the turn, it would just look super kind of bluffish. Like, why is he jamming? Why is he overbetting? After I checked back and showed weakness, like he knows that he showed weakness by checking back. So I feel like I would just bet 2/3 pot, maybe 3/4 pot. Now, if I'm playing this tournament today, I'm definitely doing that. Again, we have the heart. This is just a great card. We have the heart. So we block some flushes. We are representing some flushes here. We have the jack, which gives us the the possible jack queen. You know, so I feel like if a 2/3 bet a pot can represent like a jack queen or a flush, whereas if I'm like shoving, it's like, well, is he overshove? If he is he shove over shoving with just the straight, where there's a flush on the board, like, because then that I feel like that's just like nuts or nothing. Whereas if you're betting like 3/4 pot, 2/3 pot, it can art that kind of bet size would be in the range of like a straight or a flush, or even like some two pairs or something. So you know, but yeah, I definitely missed out, I think, on that hand for sure, and I would definitely bet that um if I played that tournament today.
Feels bad, man. Should have went all in.
This hand's nice too. You block flushes. Only has them that much, and I think two diamond hands mainly bet the turn, so I don't think you even block that many. Wait, how does that affect it? Doesn't really affect it that much, actually.
If he has the 8 of diamonds, he'll be bluffing the turn, so he doesn't. Whatever. It's not gonna.
Okay. Time for a little bit of the old aces. Man, versus the power 3x, and we're on 24 blinds.
This is tough, man.
I mean, like, you can't really go wrong between very small 3-bet and flat.
Yeah. Reason being is that we, given our stack size now, and this guy's stack size is probably gonna be pretty aggro.
I would say jam is the only thing I don't like.
Yeah.
Because we just block his call range so heavily. I'd say anything other than jam here is pretty good.
Yeah, I agree. Because then I deny any. There's no with fold equity. He just has to fold, and again, I have aces where he's not going to have a lot of ace kings, ace queens. So, I think at least if I 3-bet, he knows that if he shoves, there's still some fold equity for him. So, I think 3-betting is definitely better. But with the stack sizes, it's kind of weird because I think if I had more, I think I would have just 3-bet. Where I think like I don't have enough. Like I have to shove. I mean, I guess I can make a 3-bet, but with my stack, it looks a little like maybe not. It looks like a little like strong where it's like if I'm 3-betting and committing myself, it's like wow. He would think like, well, why not just shove? I think if I had like 40 or 50,000 and I just 3-bet, that would look super fishy, like super strong. Where I guess I can 3-bet this hand and still have enough behind to like fold. He's thinking, so I don't like the shove either. But I mean, I win the pot. I'm still in the tournament. I think maybe just because like his stack size, he was probably the chip leader, and with the bubble ICM and that sort of thing, I think maybe that's why I just shoved. And also, sometimes like you want to shove aces and not just three bet to look stronger. Sometimes if you're shoving there, they might think, well, he doesn't have aces, like he might just three bet. So sometimes I don't mind it. And because I think he was probably the chip leader at the time, I think that's probably why I think I just wanted to just take it down. But in hindsight, I think three betting is definitely better.
Given our stack size now, and this guy's stack size is probably gonna be pretty aggro.
I would say jam is the only thing I don't like.
Yeah.
Because we just block his call range so heavily. I mean, jam can't be bad. You have aces and you're going all in. But I just think that there are ways to make more money.
Yeah, I agree, and I think that it's weird. It's only a tournament thing, but like flatting is just actually is pretty reasonable.
This is definitely a fold. Dude, what has it?
Now we're tilting.
Oh, the 7-4 wasn't?
No. That was us flirting with tilt. Now we're like on tilt.
This is so out of left field because he was just playing good, solid, strong poker like the whole way through. Some nice bluffs. The bluffs
I
picked
still am,
well,
pal.
some good value betting, well played. And now I just feel like
Got ace four.
shit's just going down.
Not a bad flop to see, though.
We're taking
I
it
bet
down
everything
though.
here, I think.
Again,
All right.
I'm just playing the
Tilt.
I'm playing the bubble. I'm just playing aggressive. I have him slightly covered too, but I'm just playing and I think he was a little bit more on the loose end too. Again, I'm playing with a HUD, so
Sitting here, I think.
All right. Don't tilt pays off.
I like a call here. I think 3-betting bit as well looks good, but I like a call. I'd mainly bet the flop.
Mainly bet the flop here. You're gonna have some pairs. You're gonna have some flush draws. They're all pretty good on this board. You have just great equity. He is ace high or king high and doesn't know what to do. He's gonna lose.
Definitely bet the turn.
All right.
Although you think about this, like what our value range here looks kind of awkward, right?
I mean, we're repping that we check something on the flop, or that we made 10-9.
That's not much.
Let's see what he does. Oh, we got
Ooh,
there.
this is okay. Why are we betting so small?
Yeah, you gotta.
I feel like some of our bet sizes were a bit too small. Like just throughout this tournament, I feel like we could use a little bit of bigger. Because you're polar on this river. If you're polar, why are we going so small?
Yeah, and you don't really expect him to have very much either. So you could still have queen jack.
I don't
queen
think
10,
he
jack
had
10.
much. I think
Apparently
that's
it's
probably
queen.
why.
I think we should be opening a little more than men.
I think you gotta bet this flop.
I think you bet this flop with everything. I think as played, you check turn.
Yeah.
Wow. You know what? This is just working out for us.
I don't like these bet sizes. They're too small.
Wow.
Yeah, I think I definitely missed out on some value here. I think I was just in a phase where I'm betting third pots. It might have just been some phase I was in, and not paying attention much to stack sizes. I feel like, yeah, I get lucky on the river here. I think I can go for some value because, even if times where you're representing the ace and you don't have it, you want to make your bluffs are gonna be you're gonna be betting more. So I think you have to be consistent with your value bets as well. And I mean, yeah, this is kind of screaming I just hit the ace and I guess I kind of milked him for more. Who knows? Maybe he folds if I bet more. But I feel like you have to be consistent. If you're gonna bet 20,000 when you hit the ace, you're gonna be betting 20,000 when you don't have the ace. So you got to kind of keep those bet sizes consistent. So yeah, I think the bet size was a little too low.
Getting lucky.
I think we should raise so 2.25 pre or 2.1 pre. I like a small flop bet here. I'd mainly check turn, I think.
Yep.
And call. All right, well played.
Boom, boom. That's how it goes.
That's life.
Save some money there.
Okay, this is good. It's 18 blinds. Are we down to the final table? I think we're at the final. Are we? No, we're not. 2 tables left.
I think there was some confusion as to
That's good.
final table. I think there was probably at least 3 tables left at this time, and I think they just didn't have it down accurate.
I think I'd probably still just jam here. You get put in some horrible spots if you get re-raised as a bluff. What are you doing here, Fees? Call? It's got to be call, right?
19. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you don't have any fold equity, right?
Wow.
What the hell?
Wow.
Okay.
Well played.
There you go.
Like a boss.
I guess if you're going to jam over 3-bet, raising is less bad, but I really just hate letting the big blind take like such a cheap flop. That's really the pain there.
Yeah, but I will say this though, in defense of the not that sort of not doing that, is that is somewhere you'll punish somebody for like having the audacity to raise small into your big blinds, but you know, some of these other guys won't.
Yep, this is good. We're getting into turbo mode here. Okay, this is going to be a call. Whoa.
Whoa.
How many blinds is this? 12 blinds? This seems too loose.
Yeah, middle position.
Again, I think it's self-reliance. The guy, I think I was making some of these plays. I think he just was opening a lot, opening super wide. So I think it was basically just player-based at this point. But you'll notice coming up, as well as I was playing in the beginning, I think later on there'll be some spots where their decisions just based on getting closer to some bigger payouts, because I'll pull the payouts up. At first, I think in this tournament was 36,000, then 26,000. I think the whole final table got at least up to like 7,000. So I think like once the bigger payouts started approaching, I think I started changing my play a little bit, becoming maybe a little bit more hesitant. I mean, aside from this, but yeah, you'll notice that coming up.
Nice goal.
Got him.
All right, we win a flip there.
Still think it's too loose.
Yeah, I agree. Because I mean, just the thing is, like, call is just like on the table, and it's a great option. You got to compare it to raising.
And then I fold this hand.
Oh no, this is. Yeah, blinds, man. You got sixes. How much? Yeah, 30. I mean, there's no chance that sixes don't have 38%.
I would mainly fold. I would once in a while call, and I'd once in a while raise.
Yeah. Thinking like 15, 15, 70.
Yeah, something like that sounds good. This is a nice jam. These are really nice jam spots because you have a ton of fold equity, good equity when called. Like this is just
good removal.
Good removal.
Great turn play.
Oh.
Nice turn play.
Just win that.
Oh man. Oh.
Uh-oh. Are we about to win this tournament?
Oh. This is how it begins.
This is how it be.
Oh man.
Oh,
what a sweat. Can you imagine sweating this? You get all in.
Oh, that's
this
sick.
I think I was screaming at that turn card.
King.
Yeah.
King.
Oh.
I was screaming at that one.
Crazy stuff.
And we were not at the final table.
It's on Twitch too.
Okay, I thought we were.
This tournament was on Twitch. You can watch.
Final two tables.
The actual tournament itself.
Now this is table.
I don't even know if we're at the final table yet.
Still.
I think there's 2 left.
I think there's still 2 tables. Yes, still 2 tables. Sorry, we were at 3 tables left there. You gotta call this.
Yeah.
You only need 29% equity. 10-8 is just gonna be too high in the limp range.
Yeah, it's like maybe if there's no ante, but there's a gigantic ante. So.
There's my favorite hand.
Yeah, if it's a totally different hand, I might take that line.
Right, but
it's like okay, thanks, please.
Hot odds, man. That extra 8,000 is sink or swim.
So 7-8 suited is my favorite hand. Not the 8-9 off, but.
I don't really understand why we're changing times you min raising and not min raising. You can just keep a standard 2.1.
Oh baby, what do you do here, Doug?
Oh man,
this hurts, doesn't it?
Oh man.
This hurts.
And I fold.
I think I might fold.
I mean, that's what I want to do.
It was in
Yeah,
I'm
we
like,
will
you know
skip
what?
this.
8-7 offsuit, and I'm like, we really
Even ace.
It's a fold.
might have to take a lap after that one. Go,
Sure.
go for a quick walk. I'll be
Yeah.
back, guys. Okay.
Well,
Again, a
Big
tough
jam.
small blind
Yeah.
spot, and I've just flattened.
Way too conservative.
don't do this.
I think this.
I may have been
I don't
set-
mind like 55k or 60k.
I may have been setting up a trap
There
for
might
the
be still 3
squeeze, but
tables left, actually.
Queens plus ace king suited and some bluffs.
Jacks is tough.
You raising here?
Probably raise. Yeah. I mean, like, this dude is just betting everything. Like, our high card hands are screwed. We happen to have it. I've never liked these spots. I like the way that I like what the solvers have done in these spots. And I just think that this is just no good.
I
I
think you
think-
gotta bet bigger on the river.
Yeah.
That's been kind of a theme I've seen, I think, through this entire thing. Which is,
Especially because he could make a 10. Ace 10, king 10, queen 10. Like, all those 10s are, like, on the table for sure.
yeah,
and
what
he's
check raise
not
then?
folding them.
Missed out on some value there for sure. I didn't put him on a lot of tens though, but
Yeah, I mean, that's fine. You can do the smaller bet to get value from, like, ace high with, like, 9s and the 8 or 7 6s, and then go for the check raise with the jacks, you know, to balance out perhaps your, I don't know, you'd have ace high, maybe 6s.
I probably should have squeezed this hand too.
You got a 3 bet here.
But
Yeah, just picking up
I
60k is just too
didn't.
good.
67k is my size.
Pretty good flop. It's okay turn.
I think I check jam.
Oh yeah, actually, I'll just say I'm mainly probe here, but yeah, I guess check jam is pretty good, right? You have a lot of really big hands. The problem is, well, there's actually a problem with check jamming is that I don't know if they're really. I mean, in theory, it's like obviously fine, but in practice, I don't know if any hand that isn't two pair better really ever bets this turn.
I could check jam against
Oh, I think
Supreme,
if they have a
but
hand like ace 10 or queen jack or maybe a few bluffs, I think you're gonna face a bet.
I definitely do not think ace 10. I'm selling that one. I don't think it's gonna happen.
Well, didn't this time.
Go.
And I think I like river check. River check call.
Yeah. Ace 10 for the road.
What is the size?
let's
Like,
get
I
me there.
really want to raise this, but you. I guess
As
you
a
could, right?
Bluff.
You're protected. No, as a value.
So let's go back to the. I could check raise against if Supreme had bet this turn because given his stack size, but I don't think I would have checked jam just because I think it screams out the hand that I have. Like if I'm check jamming, 412,000 with a pot of 78,000 or whatever it gets up to after a bet 100. I mean, it screams like a big draw. I think. Although I might get a fold, it's like if I had like the king queen, I think I would be raising less to get a call. So I think check jamming looks a little bit more suspicious for sheer sort of thing. Although against Supreme, I would have probably raised. I mean, I still could raise, committing myself, but just check jamming, I think just looks a little too like fishy with my stack size to me. I think they would have picked up on that, but. And then the bet on the river, he just makes an awful, like, kind of small bet. I don't know what, like, we're never really going to be folding. And we checked all the way around, so one of us probably hit the ace, so I didn't really get that either.
Ace 10 for the road.
But I think I should have
What is the
3-bet
size?
pre-flop to begin with. But again,
Like, I really want to raise this.
I'm just playing cautious.
I guess
As
you
a
could, right?
Bluff.
You're protected. No, as a value bet, man. He's making
Oh,
17 into 80.
for like ace.
I
to
don't,
get,
don't
like,
think
ace
he's
7 or
calling a
something.
raise with anything worse. So I'm just calling, I
I'd
think.
probably just call.
I would mainly check.
I think we
Check.
check this, check that,
Point to it.
check,
Don't
check,
really
check,
understand
check it
why
down.
we changed our raise size.
Let me just go back
And
to this.
No choice.
I think my raises pre-flop were just based on who was in the big blind, what stack size they were, if they were more of a difficult opponent. But I think now, I think I was just making it a standard 2x just because they were so, the blinds were so big.
I mainly check. And it's going to a bet. All right. I don't really understand.
Let me see if I don't know how
I do
many.
bet.
I don't know what Rags'
And now I'm just checking it down.
starting
Yeah.
stack was
And it's going to a bet.
for me
All
to
right.
raise 22,000. He must have had a lot.
I don't really understand why we changed our raise size.
Yeah, he did because I think
I don't really
Rags
understand why we
had
changed-
Rags had 50. He I think was one of the bigger. He had a bigger stack, I think, and maybe was a tougher opponent. I think that's maybe the only reason why I made it a little bit over 2x rather than a standard 2x.
Change our raise size.
Perhaps a read on the big blind, but hard to know.
Maybe that's possible.
That would be the reason we would do it. If we were going to change our raise size, it would be
And
big
raise
blind, or just players left to act, given they're going to 3-bet X amount, call Y amount.
I also feel like I also think like if I'm always raising 2x and then I have like I'm opening good hands and then I make it a little bit over 2x with these. Sometimes I think they may have felt like I was trying to steal and was raising lighter with a bigger size, so they might come over the top. Sometimes I might do that.
a little loose, but fine. 3-bet.
Yep.
6. Actually, yeah, 667-ish, I think. I don't think we've done enough raising pre. If there's one thing that I would say I would change, I would say that we have not done enough re-raising people when they open. I would mainly check, but I'd have a few bets.
This is like one of those boards where I really shade. Like I mostly want to bet a 9, but I don't always bet it, and then I sort of bet everything like a little bit. But I'm more likely to bet like the.
I don't hate a turn
To get value.
to get value, and to set up an easy river check,
Sure.
and deny some equity. But this worked out.
Nice.
Would have been nice to 3-bet pre. All right, pick it up some chips. This is a jam.
Should be a jam. I don't think I
I'm
did.
ripping this guy in there. I'll see you later.
Yep. Well, maybe we'll cooler ace jack that was gonna raise fold.
I mean, calling here is winning, and we're probably on the final table bubble. I keep saying that eventually it'll be true.
But I mean, yeah, but like the thing is, like you're the one putting it in, so he's the one sort of at risk. You super remove like the only problematic hands.
Well, I mean, it's effectively on for both of you. You're going to be on nothing here. Check. I would probably mix. I actually do like a check here a lot.
I think I mostly check here. I think you have way too many like big hands. Like I just think it's hard to believe that you're gonna get called down by worse.
Bet turn's fine.
Yeah, have a turn.
I go a little bit bigger on turn. He's going to bet really small on the river.
Oh no.
Whoa.
No, dude, come on. He can have
Alright, actually,
queens,
okay.
ace jack, king,
Okay, look.
queen.
What if you were trying to not win chips? This wouldn't be bad.
In that case, yeah, like
Yeah.
in that
this
case,
is-
why'd
this
you
is-
bet the turn, man? What the hell?
This is just. I feel like this is like we're deep, and I'm like kind of playing a little scared.
Yeah, this is like a little scary. We got to be more
Like,
fearless.
You are way good. He's got queen jack, ace jack, queen 10, queens, jack 9 suited. You know how often he beat here, fees?
Less than 10%.
Oh, way less. Like
Definitely right. Missed
Feels
out
bad,
on some
man.
value, I think, there. I think it was just the flop. The king jack 10 just was, I'm thinking about, ace queens sets he could have, aces. And I didn't want to blow the pot, which is why I checked, I think, the flop. I think near the final table bubble. So again, it was more cautious, but definitely missed out on some value there. Although I don't know if he's even calling queens on the river, but again, missed out on some value.
Feels bad, man.
Call's definitely good. And I just fold flop. Open standard. I think this is final two tables, but we will find out. Okay, 3x small blind, all right. If this is final two tables, this is the nut spot. Chip lead and everyone else is middling.
Yeah.
You should be going ham. This actually might be one of the most ham spots I've ever seen. They are all completely incentivized to not mess with you. No one's short on this table.
Just like the
There's
bubble.
probably someone short on the other table.
Hence the
and you're one
7-4
off making
raises.
The final table.
Yeah.
You know what, actually, Fees? I think there might be 3 tables left. There's not a good... I don't know all the payouts. I only can know some of them. I like betting everything in the swap. Low paired boards, I think. I like bet check.
Bet check seems good to me.
Or
If you go
yeah.
small enough, you can bet the river with this size.
I don't know
Not
if I
anymore.
bet small though.
Not anymore. You can't.
Okay.
You floated with the
Final
king
table.
10.
Maybe. Maybe not.
2 tables left.
Okay.
I'm almost positive we have 2 tables left now.
Oh baby. Okay. This is fine. The only thing I will say is that specifically kings on a queen dry board are a hand that you could absolutely consider going for a bigger size. Although
The
actually, the nut
old
hand.
2/3 pot jam turn line.
Yeah, pretty much. The nut hand is pocket fives, but yeah. Then you don't block king queen either.
I'm taking a flop.
27%. Yeah, I'm taking a flop. I'm not happy about it. Begrudgingly taking a flop.
You give me good enough odds, I'll see a flop with anything, Fees. Okay, I like a call here. I like a fold. Wow. And also, pretty wow.
Everyone really seems to be being, let's say, fearful. This is a great time to be greedy.
Always good to be greedy. Thank you, Warren Buffett.
Sometimes he was right. Sometimes he's right.
All right. Wait. Did we?
I'm not sure.
Though, because I can
They
see-
probably split it or something.
I've-
Actually, 2 tables. Never mind. I don't know what the hell's going on.
Okay, yeah, it just seems like we're dancing around. All right, I don't mind the trap
Don't
scheme.
mind a trap scheme.
You should not be very afraid of the ace here. They're unlikely to have an ace compared to a lot of other spots. Okay, that's fine.
Setting the trap.
Dude, I think there's 3 tables left.
Don't start. Don't start.
I really
Just like
think
I
there's
get
3.
it. There's chips. There's
I think there's
people.
3.
We're at different spots.
It's weird though, because I can see like who cashes late, and like these people are all there, so it's like just starts to get very questionable as to what's happening. How many blinds is this? 27. I guess I don't hate this, but I'd prefer a small 3-bet. 102.
Yeah, I think it's a reasonable spot to let him hang himself. See, that's the other thing about tournaments is don't ever, as Doug was saying earlier about the A7, like don't. You don't always.
I think there's
give
2
them-
tables left.
Give them a chance to do something stupid when like
I
they
think
can.
there's 2 tables left.
You don't always
Alright.
want to take away their ability to do something dumb.
Okay. How much do we need?
31%.
I'm seeing a flop, Fees.
I like this one more than the other one, I think.
My favorite
Ah,
hand,
no, I like
and
that
I
one.
folded it.
The thing is, you can really see why three betting people is good because even in these spots where like they're like marginally close calls, people will just fold because they don't want to put themselves in the situation later. Um, and so like the three better actually does have a lot of power in that sense.
Yep.
Especially when you're deep in a tournament and people are playing conservatively. I'm going 95 here.
Oh, come on, man. This is
This
like a
is
fine
this
play.
is
You just
too
can't do it
big.
with this hand. Yeah,
This
this
is too
hand's just too good. You gotta have
yes.
the small size.
Yes.
Should have just 3-bet that for sure instead of shoving. Denies fold equity, but
Going
he's right.
similar size to the one we just. Even though we're in position here, the stack size makes you want to go a little bit bigger, but being in position
Ooh,
makes you want
this
to go a
hand
little smaller. So I'm
might be
thinking
the
probably going,
worst.
like around 100.
Yep, 100 was
90,
I had
yeah.
minus. Oh, oof.
Huge, huge. And you know what, Sophie's? I feel like when people get deep in tournaments, they start playing a little bit differently. Like I just don't think that we would have been using sizes like this early on.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It feels like we're playing a little deeper, a little different because we're deep.
That was one of the worst
Gotta call here.
Whoa. Yeah, ace king
plays.
suited on 40
I mean,
blinds.
Or just like look at the 35% equity.
I mean, he's gonna like he'll have it.
This was when I think I think my time bank was running down. I ended up it was folding because I ran out of time. I think I may have used my time bank earlier in one hand, but I think I was thinking about again final table. I was trying to again like they were saying being one of the bigger tournaments. I think I played online. Given this time, I would think I was playing a little bit more hesitant and didn't want to bust. I think I wanted to move up a couple more pay jumps because they were pretty significant, at least for me at the time. And I think I just was thinking about it too much, and I ended up the time bank just folded me out. And I think I saw a few hands prior to this that I saw a lot of ace kings go up against aces and kings, and although you block with your ace king, you block sometimes the aces. Obviously, having an ace or and a king, it's less likely they'll have ace or king. But I think he also was a little bit tighter. And I saw aces go up against ace king like I think 2 times right before that. So I think I had that in my mind, and I was just like, oh, I didn't want to go out that way. But in hindsight, like I'm just never folding. I'm never folding this hand. So, but again, like some say, like you might fold and make the wrong decision, but you're still in the tournament.
He's gonna have ace king here himself a lot.
Yeah, I mean,
Like he's gonna have all the remaining ace king combos. If he thinks there's shenanigans, he could wake up with the occasional ace queen suited.
Yep.
And then you block aces and kings. He's gonna have queens and jacks. Might throw some tens or nines in there if he thinks things are.
yeah. I mean, you need 30. You have ace king, so you have 35% equity. You gotta call. Thing about tournaments is like sometimes it's just like your time to die, and like if
Oh
you
my
don't
god! Look how long we folded for after this hand. We're at
700k.
700k here. Now there's only 4 people left, and we're down to 300.
Oof, I'm folding. Possibly some unapproved folds in there.
For sure.
Fees, you're not gonna like what I have to say next. I don't think we're at the final. We're at the final two tables before.
Come on, you gotta be kidding me. How many?
I don't think we were. All right, bet, fold, fold. Easy jam. Call.
We're gonna win this one, Doug.
You think so, Fees?
I know it. I know it.
Yeah. I guess raise fold in this is fine. Yeah. Jam.
Jam.
Dude, you cannot do this because if you 3x to get jammed on, you have to fold.
Also, you can call and then you're out of
You
position.
could limp. You could limp. I don't mind limp. I don't mind a jam here, Fees.
Really?
Yeah. Or a small 3-bet. I like both of them.
Wow. Okay.
I think people will open the button way too wide here,
Hmm.
and you only have 22 blinds, 22 and a half blinds. I bet you Jam will make money.
Okay.
I prefer the small D-bet though, I think. And of course, folding is fine. It's a hand you can consider making some moves with.
The Doug special, if you will.
Yeah, I'm here to tell you guys you can either raise, fold, or call, or raise, call, or fold. If I get the order right. Okay, I like mainly betting this flop with this hand, and bet fold looks good. I would jam this for sure. All right, so we paused the video, the recording here, to take a look and figure out exactly what was happening. I was sent an image that wasn't the final standings, but rather ones from during it. So the result was that I thought that people had to have finished earlier than they ended up finishing, and we are confirmed at the final 4 people. So we may actually have been at the final 2 tables when I said that earlier. This image was just very confusing and misleading. So we are down to 4-handed. The payouts are 15K for 4th, 20K for 3rd, 27K for 2nd, and 36K for the win. So we'll keep that in mind here as we jump back into it, knowing that we are now 4-handed. 36K up top, 15K is the next payout. All right. So don't mind this. I like this flop bet. Pretty reasonable removal. Good playability on later streets. Seems good. And let's just take a moment here just to talk about kind of ICM just for a sec. I think that's important. So here, we see Razzle Dazzle is the by far and away chip leader on 3.4. Macrax is second on 1.6, giving you strokes on 750K and us on a little under 600K. So the pressure in this situation really is on Macrax to ladder up. It's not really as much on us. Now, we do have a similar size stack as us, which changes things a little bit. But, when you're in last place in chips and there's a bit of a gap between you and the person above you, and particularly the person in second, you don't have to be as fearful of trying to, make the correct plays to ladder up. So I would say in this spot, we're going to want to be a little bit, I would say we actually want to play like pretty close to our normal game. Giving you strokes maybe a little tighter than normal, and Macrax probably a decent amount tighter than normal. With Razzle Dazzle looking to, of course, go after Macrax really aggressively. In fact, this spot sucks for Macrax because the chip leader is right to his direct left. He needs to be aware of that and play conservatively until things start to kind of change.
Yeah, so long as Razzle Dazzle's in the hand, he just has to play a pretty tight, straightforward strategy, and wait for somebody to win or lose chips.
Okay. Small blind open, 22 blinds here, easy jam. Fold. King 9 cutoff open.
A little on the loose side.
Little on the loose side, but in a way I kind of like it because the button's going to need to be pretty honest. The biggest stack is in the small blind, so you can't flat that much, and the big blind's the other short stack. So I would still say probably a little too loose, but position-wise, I don't mind opening a bit wider here than maybe in some other situations.
I think I'm raising it only because the next smallest stack's in the big blind.
Flop is fine. I think
he might fold a lot more than the big stack.
It's fine. Checking plays nicely. Betting plays nicely. You can't really go wrong.
Yeah, I lean a little bit towards checking kings and king 10 with the king of hearts and then betting the broadways. And this one can go either way, but I bet maybe a little bit more than I check.
All right, ace king, small blind fold, big blind jam. Definitely standard. Cutoff open, going to be flatting here with queen 10. Oh yeah.
Accidentally leading.
An accidental lead. We're going to just assume that he got a little confused here. I thought he was c-betting. But obviously
I think
we should
I
be checking.
just donk bet that
big
hand.
blind here to the cutoff. I don't think that.
I feel like this may be the only time I let out donk bet one hand. I feel like, yeah, I mean, you don't want to ever donk bet. It just looks super weak, but I feel like in this spot, like, if he doesn't have like an ace jack, we block queen, like, or even queen king, which we block, ace queen, we even block queen king. I feel like, if he has like any underpair, he's just like not even. I don't think he's even. I didn't think he was gonna call at that point, but yeah, it worked out.
But obviously, we should be checking in the big blind here to the cutoff. I don't think that's anything too crazy.
Something we don't ever really do, but decided to
Button
mix it up.
open, small blind jam,
Here we go.
easy go with it.
Nice spot for us.
All right.
Very nice.
Now we're in a good position. This is actually a spot that I think we have slightly less chips, right? Yeah. This is going to be tricky given the button.
Totally agree.
Yeah, and I think I
So
just
we limp, we face a 3x, and we decide to fold. What do you think about that, Fees?
I think you gotta call. Yes, you're gonna play like much tighter, like actually much tighter. But I think that
I think given
Broadway's
given
could see a
Strokes
flop
has
blind versus
one big blind
I
left.
also think that even though, yes, if you busted here, you would, miss out on a huge pin jump.
Yeah.
He's not really that much deeper than you, so busting here would be extremely bad for him as well.
right. He is like he is slightly the upper hand, but it's not dramatic.
Which is true.
Also, if you're limp folding Queen Jack, you're just limp folding so much. I mean, this is nothing too crazy. All right, we're down to three-handed. Button open, blinds fold. Small blind 3x. Call. With a diamond, I think I'd get my float ski on and mix and raise every now and then, but without it, even versus such a small bet, I'm just letting this one go.
Yep. Plenty of
Maybe
other hand.
once in a while if you want to float. I don't like betting turn, though. You have plenty of other hands to bet.
Yeah, you'd rather bet a low flush draw, maybe 2 low hearts.
Some gutters, some
Yeah.
extra hearts. Yeah, some...
I think we should have bet a little bit more.
Yeah, you got pretty wrecked there.
We should have bet a little bit more on the turn there. I didn't think he had much of anything. He's the chip leader. He was playing super, I think, aggressive mostly, which he did. He did have ace king. He wasn't paired, but I think if like a 10 or something like something else comes, I think I'll bet again. But that was just a kind of a bad run out. I was kind of repping like a 9-10 maybe type hand. So decided not to bet the river.
Yeah, you got pretty wrecked there. All right, so we don't have to be quite as conservative. I think I actually like a 3-bet fold to jam here.
32 blinds though.
I don't really like the flat much. Also, keep in mind, Fees, like, ante is substantially smaller here now.
Right.
And that's something that I see players make the mistake of a lot. You're playing a tournament the whole time. You get down to, like, the last 3, 4, 5 people. You're like, yeah, ante, I've been through this. But no, it's a bit different. Like, now you need to open the button tighter. You need to defend tighter in both spots. There's less money out there. I just don't think this is a very good fly here in the small blind. This 3-bet is too small. This needs to be like 250 or 275 or something. Oh, wow.
He's got him.
They're going to war.
Oh.
So good for you. Okay, we're down to heads
We'll
up.
take it.
Heads up.
That was great for us.
All right. I like going a little more than min as my default open. You should be almost always bang this on the flop.
Yeah, really hard to argue for a check.
And I would almost always bet this on the flop. Looks good. Maybe a little bit larger size seems good, but here we're getting into, like, I'd split it up. I do like how this hand plays as a bet because you get a lot of nice turn and river barrel opportunities. 10 or 9, or maybe even an ace are cards that you're gonna look to triple barrel a bunch. Diamond is nice. What do you think here, V's? What are you leaning towards?
It's pretty split. I mean, like, the other hands you want to bet are hands that center around the low straight draws that center around the 5. And this, the higher straight draws already have sort of this is like a really great hand to have when the turn is like a 10 or a 9. And then you sort of get to keep betting. But yeah, you can go either way. It's perfectly fine.
Weird turn. Big blind's gonna check here. What do you think?
Uh, let's see. He can. The problem is he'll have a five here, quite often. But you are going to have a full house or ace king or aces, and want to keep betting. So yeah, I think a flush draw is a pretty good hand to keep betting with, and I think there's a number of hands I'm trying to think if I can distinguish if I'm saying like, oh, actually, I really strongly prefer this one. Might strongly prefer a lower flush draw, but I mean, this is honestly as good as anything, and yeah, nice big bet. But I also
It
love that
sucks having a jack though,
it
because we
does.
really want him to have jack nine, jack 10, maybe even ace jack.
I do like though that he's sort of, but that's it. Most of his range is going to be a king, queen, or five, and I do like that he's coming out of his shell and going for it, and I don't like that. Um, I don't like that he didn't go for it on the river because he will be making. It doesn't really change all that much, and he will be making 10-9. Um,
It doesn't
and
change much at all.
Yeah.
You're never good. I mean, you're like never good.
never.
Like it's hard to even. I mean, ace seven.
Could have jammed there.
diamonds.
The guy was worried he may
You're
have been a
almost never gonna go
five after he
river,
called
and
that big
then,
bet or a
He's clearly
king.
calling a queen. He called his queen six.
Block
And
some two pairs. 10-9 got there. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think you gotta wager the rest of it.
Missed out there.
yeah, just risk it. He's gonna have a queen or a king most of the time.
He's gonna have queen six. I would jam this 23 bigs over and open.
This could be it. This is probably it. That's it.
That is it. All right, Fees. So what would you say overall AC poker? How you played this tournament? Any final conclusions on maybe some things he could take away to play a little bit better?
Yeah, I think just certainly consistency with the raise sizing, and then a little bit more willingness to sort of die, towards the middle late stages of a tournament, and then a little bit, honestly, just like a little bit more guts, kind of in like most places, I would say. But that said, he did, especially earlier on in the tournament, he did show willingness to sort of rank hands and just play them from that perspective rather than playing them from the this is a risky maneuver, I'm not willing to bluff or call perspective. So I would say actually of the three that we've done, this AC poker was probably the most sort of in the middle and the most reasonable.
I would agree with that. I felt like he was playing really well in early to mid stages of this tournament. Some of the late stage decisions, I don't know if maybe it was he was either tired or I know we joked about him being tilted. I don't know if that was playing a role at all, or maybe like the money just started to get to him. But I feel like he could have played a little bit better down the stretch. I would have liked to kind of see him continue that level of play that we saw early that I thought was really quite strong. So maybe a little focus on just kind of sticking to your guns on your game plan later on in the tournament could be something that he would look to add in there as well. And the only other thing that stuck out to me was not having enough re-raises pre. I felt like that he could have done some more 3-betting pre-flop and certainly would have made more from that. So those are the two things I think that really stuck out.
Wholeheartedly agree. Forgot about the re-raise. That was a big one as well. And it was funny because he was on the other side of it where sort of folded into these 3-bets, and that's the exact reason that 3-betting a number of hands for him would have been really good, would have been really profitable.
Totally agree. All right, guys, that's going to do it here for this module. I hope you enjoyed it. Hopefully you got some good insights into kind of how to play some different tournament spots. I think it was a good one. We're also going to be doing a cash game version of this module. If you see this in time before we go through and review it, you can email dougpolkbusiness@gmail.com. And we're going to be looking at some online hand samples. So if you could send your last month or two of online hands over there, that would be awesome. All right, guys. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you again next month for the next module.
Good luck at the World Series.
There you go. All right, guys.
All right. And that wraps up the video. So I think, Doug and Ryan were right. And looking back, when I reviewed my hand histories 2 years later, I reviewed it. I watched the video, obviously. Definitely agree. And I know that I would have played a lot of those spots, like probably maybe at least half, 75%, the way that even they were saying, where I folded to some 3-bets, folded to some spots where, I could have been more aggressive, willing to put my tournament on the line, especially that ace-king suited hand final table. I think the time just ran out, and I think at that time, I think it was probably one of the bigger online tournaments I've been in. Live, I've been in a little bit more, higher ones, but I think online, I think it was one of the higher payouts. I think I wanted to like seal up like a solid, at least, within the top four spots to earn some money. And I, didn't want to just call off my tournament life without having a pair. But again, like looking back, I definitely would have called a lot in those spots. And I think it just comes with, some experience playing. Like once you get down, you go with like what the better, what the best decision is, not like worrying about like losing or missing out on the money. So at least I can say, I mean, that's, looking back at it now, like at least it's a good thing that, um, I would make a lot of those plays now, and I knew exactly, what they would be saying in certain spots, like certain spots I should have jammed, or or whatnot. And I'm looking back at like, oh, these were such great spots. So, but all in all, I mean, the second place for 20 over 26K was good. Definitely my biggest cash. But got to give a shout out to Upswing Poker, Ryan Fees and Doug Polk, for reviewing the hand histories, going over some of the analysis. And if you guys aren't on Upswing, I recommend joining. It's a great site. You can learn a lot. And thanks for watching. All right. Take care.